Jackie. Yeah, what's up with it?
Hosted by Amateur Oceanic Esports and sponsored by My Republic Gamer. I'm Perennius. Back with me tonight is Temporal. We've got some great matches coming up, so what can we expect tonight, Temporal?
I'm expecting great matches like we saw last week. I had to just watch from the sidelines, could make it. But I'm glad to be back. Thank you for letting me come back and save you from having a solo cast. Tonight, we have two fantastic matches lined up for you, both really important for the divisions they're in. To start off, we will be in Division 4, where we'll see the East Coast Krakens take on Orion Betel. And after that, we'll move up to Division 1, where we will see the top two teams in this tournament right now, the PowerAnchors taking on ADSL2+. That you do not want to miss out on, so make sure you stick around after you have watched this first match. And as I just alluded to, these are very important matches. We're coming into playoffs in a couple of weeks' time. Teams are jockeying for position within the group. They want the best run they can get into their playoffs because they want a shot at that their share of that $500 prize pool that is provided by our sponsor, My Republic.
That's right. Stay at home with the #1 broadband provider for gaming. My Republic offers fixed broadband plans and services that provide ultra-low, ultra-stable latency connections to allow you to optimize your gameplay experience. Enjoy exciting privileges, special gaming offers, and exclusive access to specialized gamer perks.
And we'd also like to thank some other contributors to making Ascent what it is today. Splash, Apollo, and Bloodborne. Thank you for your continued support of AOE and making Ascent possible. And right now, before we move into tonight's match, I just want to have a quick look back at last week because it was some great action, particularly in that first match. We saw the Koalas Esports organization going at it toe-to-toe. USSR, in the end, was able to take down Torbjorn High Jump, but it wasn't easy.
No, Torbjorn High Jump were looking really good, especially on those payload matches. But in the end, USSR looking dominant on both control and assault game modes. So a very interesting matchup. It's a couple of teams that I believe had another internal match or sort of a couple of days later.
I did cast that one. It was just before that. So USSR, the tournament was about the ranking of the team order within the Discord. So whose personal team lobby got to go highest. USSR took out top honors, and they showed why again last Friday. Why they are the most skilled team within the Koalas Esports hierarchy. Following that...
Yeah, they must have had another scrim in a couple of days' time or something. The players at the end of the match were like, rematch on Monday. So they must have had something coming up. They definitely know each other quite well, and it's going to be interesting to see how they develop as things go on. But as you were saying, sorry I interrupted there.
It's all right. The other match we had, Corrupted Academy versus Scupper's Crew, a little more one-sided. Corrupted Academy ended up walking away with that, and given their historical record, finishing top 10 in Open Division, I'm not completely surprised. Anyway, we will move on to this week's matches. Let's talk about this first match because these two teams have a lot to play for. East Coast Krakens are currently sitting at, I wrote it down and I've just lost it. They're currently sitting at first in the group. They have 2 wins and 1 loss in this competition. The only loss they've had is to No Ducks Given. So they have everything to play for. A win tonight will see them at least secure second in the group. They are relying on the results of No Ducks Given to see whether or not they're going to playoffs on top of the group. But a win will make sure they can't finish anywhere below second. On the other hand, Orion Betel almost playing for their tournament lives tonight. They need to win tonight to at least stay third in the division. If they get that third position, there's a chance they might be able to overtake East Coast Krakens, depending on the results from the other matches in the tournament. And the win tonight is so important because they play No Ducks Given, the only undefeated team still left in this division. So if they don't get the win tonight, they're looking down the barrel of a third, maybe a 4th place finish. Mathematically, they probably could drop down to 5th. Bit unlikely, but you want to get not only do you want to finish as high as you can in the group, but once you get to the end of the season, you want a winning run into the playoffs to make sure you've got the right mindset, you've got all that momentum, and you're able to carry it through and get to that first
Absolutely.
position.
Absolutely. Looking for best seeding in the playoff bracket, looking for that momentum coming in. You want to take a strong run at those playoffs. And speaking of taking a strong run, later tonight, we will be having the long awaited matchup between the PowerAnchors and ADSL2 Plus from Division 1, the two powerhouses of the division fighting for that first rank seed. And whoever wins that is likely to secure that first place seed going into the playoffs. So a lot on the line for both of those teams as well as a chance to get a feel for each other prior to the actual playoffs themselves.
Indeed, and um, I'd like to cover that match a little bit later, just because we'll
Yes,
be in
of
the
course.
mindset for that. So on the for the side of Orion, I mean, players to look out for. Sorry, for this matchup, players to look out for, as I remember where I put my notes before I try and explain this. I'd like to give a shout out to someone who's not in the server anymore. Never mind. So they have Hinox in, a DPS player, noted for their Doomfist and May play. So I'll be looking towards them to
Okay.
see what kind of what they bring out. We know May is a great staple of the meta, has been for a while. On the way out a little bit as she's had some changes and other heroes come more into the fore, but no hero bans in Ascent means their teams can play whatever they want, and I've been looking to see them play on not just focusing on the meta, but if you've got something a little tricky but you're really good at it, I'd like to see them run that.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what gets brought out to go against that. I mean, if they work out that, if Inox is going to be sticking on those sort of somewhat niche hero picks, what do you do to pick around that? Do you start running something that you wouldn't normally be running just to try and upset their comps, or do you just stick to what you know and what you're good at? And really going to show off just how adaptable these teams are in how things like that are dealt with and played around. Do you just play your game? Do you adapt your game to beat your opponents out? How do you take that one?
It'd be interesting to see. And what you do need to do is keep a positive mindset. And if you're Orion, you've got a player like Mega Smileys on your team. I'd like to think that they're the ones providing the laughs, keeping an upbeat, positive attitude, and getting you through those tough times. On the side of Krakens, Zimperial or ex-Imperial, oh, sorry, I should have clarified that already, has been noted as a great Sigma player, particularly their ability to eat other players' abilities. So as Orion, you'd be very wary throwing out those ultimates. If Hinox is playing the May, you got that Blizzard, be very careful. Sigma might just gobble it all up.
Absolutely. You do have to worry about a good Sigma player there. I mean, it can be hard at a time, definitely not as easy and reliable as the old defense matrix, but still definitely something that can eat up all sorts of ultimates. And some of them, especially that May Blizzard, have such a long cast time that they can be so easy to gobble up. And it's always an absolute tragedy if your game-winning ultimate gets eaten, pulling the strategy out from underneath you. So we'll have to see how that one unfolds when we get in here. But I suppose... So go ahead.
Actually, when we get into the match, actually, no, let's introduce the whole lot of teams right now. We're talking about players, and people are going, well, we can't really see the lineups. So for the side of East Coast Krakens, we have Rusty, Wooly, Zimperial, Weewid, Shiro, and Omega Papega. And I say it like that because in the team sheet, their name is in all capitals. You can't tell because all the names are in capitals right now, but I just want to get that out of the way. For the side of Orion Betel is Hinox, Sample, Yugo, Eggy, Salad, and Mega Smileys.
Absolutely. And just a quick recap of the rules before we get started. As you already mentioned, there's no hero bans. We do have 2-2-2 in place, however. And it is going to be a best of 5 maps. We always start on Nepal, so we'll be heading over there shortly. And following that, we'll be going through Hybrid, Assault, Escort, and then back to Control if needed. The first team to get 3 will win and end the match at that point. And the loser will get the pick from the available map pool for the maps after Nepal.
Yeah, and if we look at the history of these two teams in the tournament, as we noted, East Coast Krakens on top of the group, Orion Betel a little further down. They've both played the QUT Anomaly. That's the Queensland University of Technology team. Interesting side note, one of 2 university teams. We've also got Swinburne Black in, I believe, Division 4 or 5, this is Division 4, which means there's in Division 5, which kind of speaks to me, seeing as I was a Swinburne student back in the day. We didn't really have an esports division at the time. It's nice to see. Times moved on, university is catching up. Anyway, back to the teams at hand. So both teams have played QUT Anomaly. Different results, though, against the other team they've played in common, MG Sharks. Orion lost a very close match against them. It was 2-3, but East Coast Krakens managed to beat MG Sharks 3-1. They had a better time of it, and given the relative standings in the division and their historical match records, I'd say coming into this, East Coast Krakens are probably feeling a little more confident about this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely hope so. Definitely coming into this as the highest seeded one on the ladder as well. Coming in with that first place seed, you've got to be hoping that you're the favourites. At the same time, hope that they don't get complacent. We will be moving over to Nepal now, starting on the village, and this does make for some very interesting compositions. But it looks like both teams going for the May Reaper, which isn't too surprising. There has seen some really good Pharah play on this stage, but it looks like neither of these teams going for that at this point. And the May Reaper, brutal for those close quarters combats around that point.
I feel like we always start on Village in a set.
We do.
Just keeps coming out.
I think we started on the one inside the monastery, which name is blanking. Phantom, that's the one. I think we started there last week, but...
so it's just me.
Yeah, it's just when you're around that we start on Village all the time. Early point presence has gone through to East Coast Kraken. They got there first. It's going to set them up for a great position. They've got the 2 shields there as well. I mean, both teams are running 2 shields. The Sigma one, a lot more mobile.
Of course, we noted Pause Imperial noted for their Sigma play. Currently just throwing in those Hyperspheres. Nice wall from High Nox will keep East Coast... Omega will keep... Orion out for the moment. Rusty has the Earthshatter already, lays it down, gets the charge.
Oh,
the rest of the team will follow through, finish off those players. They get control of the point.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great play from Rusty getting that shatter up so quickly, but that May wall from Omega Papega was what definitely ended that fight. There may have been an opportunity to come back in, but the team gets split in half, and then everyone just gets run through. And the follow-up clean right after that as well. But I guess at that point, Orion Betel looking to reset pretty quickly, so they're not going to drag out the... not going to drag it out. 30% on the point already because they were able to cap that point early on in that fight. So a really great opening for East Coast Krakens.
Indeed. Sample, we're looking to take up the sample. Oh wow, another Earthshatter coming out. This time from Salah to both. Reinhardt's doing a great job of building those up, but it's going to be thrown in and blocked. And with that, East Coast Kraken's going to run ahead and roll all over Orion.
Yeah, one thing I particularly want to highlight at the very beginning of that fight, Weird pops the window and Rusty fire strikes through it. That gets them the kill onto the opposing Baptiste, but it also, look at the amount of ultimate charge he was able to get thanks to that amplification matrix. He's already got another shatter. Salah's only just used his shatter. He's got the second shatter of the fight. I don't know if they're going to be ready for that.
He's lapped most of the players in this server when it comes to building ultimate charge. A nice wall's going to cut half of East Coast Krakens. The Earthshatter out from Rusty, trying to save the day. A wall keeps some members of Orion backed out, but Mega Smileys has the Death Blossom, going to unleash it inside this tiny little area. Clean up 3 kills. In the end, Mega Papega trying to make a difference, taking Eggy out of the fight. But Orion, but Betel too strong. Going to flip the point as East Coast hits 94%.
Yeah, it was a big blizzard from Omega Papega, but too many people were already dead. And as a result, they got a lot of people frozen, but there was no one there to kill them. And so it kind of ended up being a bit of a wasted ultimate, unfortunately. That said, East Coast Krakens, they've still got plenty of tools left in the tool belt. Orion Betel, they've only just capped the point, and they need to hold it now pretty much the whole time against this onslaught coming in from East Coast Krakens. Well, that's big. Bit of a blossom there coming in. Rusty's managed to pin his counterpart, but Shiro gets taken out. There goes Rusty as well, so it's looking like Orion Betel should be able to hold this one out. The kills coming through in their favor. There's a few members left that just need to be cleaned up. I'm surprised Wooly is now going to back away and reset. No, he's resetting out towards the enemy spawn, but he does get away. Weewood dies quite late, though. That's going to buy a lot of time here for Orion Betel as we move towards the next fight here. And East Coast... It was a good clean fight from Orion. Yeah, absolutely. And East Coast Krakens, they used a couple of resources there without much results, but they're going to have another Blizzard and another Earth Shatter very soon. So this is still not out of the woods yet for Orion Betel.
Not in the slightest. They make their way across the bridge, just waiting to see when the right moment is. A nice wall. Isolate the tanks of Orion. The counter from Sample. The Gravitic Flux going to lift up as Imperial. And now the wall going to keep the rest of Orion Betel alive. Mega Smiley's comes in over the top, unleashes that Death Blossom yet again. Wooly out of the fight. The Reaper is traded out. With a fairly even fight on the point, and Orion Betel, they have the positioning, they have the cover provided, and they also have 2 healers left alive. They're going to march forward, take Omega and Shiro out of the fight, and as they reach up past East Coast Kraken's percentage, it's now going to be on Wooly to make their way back to the point. Both the supports are there for East Coast. As there's a Earthshatter behind Rusty, taking out Sample, doing the work right now, and Earthshatter is well for Salad. We're going to be taken down off the back of that. In the end, Orion Betel taking the first round.
Yeah, great comeback from Orion Betel. It seemed like once East Coast Kraken lost the point, they just weren't able to pick an engagement that worked out. Every time they went in, it looked like maybe they'd have a good start, but the Maywall was there to cut off Rusty, and once Rusty's cut off from the rest of the team, he's not long for the world, and that's basically what they did over and over again, just punishing the East Coast Kraken main tank, separating him from the rest of the team, eliminating him, and then rolling through the rest of the team because they no longer have a main tank to keep them safe. And yeah, it was surgical. It was just effective, and it's why it is so painful to play main tank in Overwatch these days.
Speaking of main tanks, sticking with the double shield, but now Orisa on the field, you can have a little more fun here on Sanctum with that Hulk, dropping people off the edge. It's such a satisfying feeling, and sometimes you just need that as a main tank, a little pick-me-up every now and then of dunking someone in the bottomless pit.
Yes, environment kills are the best kills. This is known. The Torbjorn pick from Shiro is an interesting one, but they've managed to get that turret set up on the high ground. Was putting in some good shield breaking work there, but does get taken down by the opposing Ashe. Early point presence is going to be in favor of Orion Betel.
Nice dynamite there, forces out the immortality field. But so far, Orion, the only one who's touched the point, and East Coast Krakens are quite happy to let them have it for now. They're just waiting to see if that Torbjorn turret or the Pepega on the Ashe is able to get a pick. But right now, Orion playing really well around their shields.
Yeah, here comes Hinox in with the Doomfist, goes for the punch, doesn't get the killing blow, manages to knock, I believe, the Orisa into a wall, so that's not going to be the kill shot. But it's another great dynamite coming through from a Mega Pepega, rather. But in the meantime, Mega Smiley's has picked up Shiro once again. So Mega Smiley's really getting the key picks that are shutting down any pushes coming through.
The East Coast Krakens have to make a move. Orion is quite happy to sit here on the point and not do anything. The Amplification Matrix going to force the issue as East Coast Krakens makes their way and they run into a barrage of fire. The Matrix of their own might make a difference. Hinox out of the fight. There's Gravitic Flux on the field, forces out the sound barrier from Wooly, which will keep everyone alive. Bob takes a tumble off the sides. Imperial comes up with 4 kills in that fight. They're going to flip the point over. Nice work by East Coast Krakens.
Yeah, it's Imperial absolutely the difference maker of that. First, he gets the accretion onto his counterpart in Sample, sends him down into the pit with it. And then, following that, able to send off the Bob as well. Just incredible turn back there. And that's going to get them set up on the point. 56%, still very good percentage, considering that that was really only one actual team fight in there. Now we've got the Molten Core out.
Mostly absorbed by Sample. Nice play by the Sigma. That Kinetic Grasp coming up big. It's going to mean Orion Betel can move on to the point, but Salad gets knocked off, as does Eggy and Sample. What's Imperial again with 4 kills in that fight? No wonder they were touted as a fantastic Sigma. They are showing off here in Sanctum.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing we knew about Zimperial coming into this was they played an incredibly strong Sigma. We are seeing it on parade here and now. We've got some swaps coming through here. Hinox over onto the Hanzo, giving up on the Doomfist for now. Let's see if this extra long-range poke is gonna do the job for knocking down this Torb turret.
Well, Orion Betel wasting
field.
no time getting onto the field. Yeah, the superchargers are out, as is the rally from Eggy. There's no rally coming in from the side of East Coast Krakens. They're not going to have so much of a support presence unless the sound barrier is out, but nothing is going to save them from the damage coming out from Hinox. Cleans up 2 in that fight, and Orion taking the point back.
72% on the clock on favor of East Coast Krakens, so that could be... Now, if they win the next fight, they still need one more to close it out. This is getting very close. Both teams around the 70% mark. They've both got basically one fight in reserve. Hinox going down early there. Forward. Big opening.
Yeah, nice hold from Rusty to bring the Hunter back as they jumped away, and the Dragons are going to have to come through from spawn if they want to make a difference. Bob is on the field from Mega Smile. You'll see he's able to make an impact, but it doesn't look like he might, especially after getting booped off. In the meantime, there's a couple of counter kills coming through. From East Coast Krakens, Sample unleashes the Gravitic Flux as the Dragons come through, and they isolate enough members of East Coast Krakens that allow Orion to clean up, and they're going to capture the point. I don't think anyone from East Coast Krakens can touch. No, they can't. Orion securing the Sanctum, and in doing so, securing the pole.
Yeah, and I mean, that was actually so fast-paced. It's I'm still kind of surprised it's over. Like, it was, considering both those rounds were actually quite close, but it was all so incredibly fast-paced that, yeah, very much a blink and you miss it sort of gameplay. These teams, they took a long time to set up some of those fights, especially on Sanctum, that first fight. Such a long time to get going due to some early picks coming through from Mega Smileys. However, once those fights did hit, those team fights were over almost instantly. That's how decisive they've been. So, really good play from both these teams. Orion Betel ends up, after being down in the first half of Village, really coming together and putting up a dominant performance throughout most of the rest of Nepal. So we could be on track here for a bit of an upset if this continues.
Indeed, we could. It's a great start. You've got the momentum now going into the next map. Krakens, they need to stop and regroup, get their minds down to saying, yes, we are the favourites. We know that, but we don't want to be too shaken up by the fact that this other team that's coming in as the underdog has already got a map over on us. Bright spots for them, of course. You can't go past Zimperial on that Sigma. Absolutely fantastic. 2 4Ks to get them the point in Sanctum. It was unbelievable how good they were.
Yeah, definitely. And just, again, more great teamwork from East Coast Krakens when things were going their way. We're seeing the Lucio getting the boops. We're seeing the windows, the amplification matrices coming up from Baptiste at the right time to combo with other people's abilities. So when things are going by the playbook, they are looking really, really good. I think it's when things don't go to plan that things are really falling apart for them very quickly, though. We'll see if that continues to be the case, or if it was a bit of a, maybe a bit of a blip on the radar, but and they get things back under control. But at the moment, it looks like their set plays are really good. But when their set plays don't go to plan, things start to run away from them.
And, I mean, speaking of great Sigma play, we saw Sample doing a fantastic job on the Sigma, but in particular, eating that Molten Core.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
that was such a smart play.
That was just a lot of lava that didn't end up anywhere.
Honestly, I don't think I've ever seen a Molten Core be eaten, because I
don't think Diva can do it. So
so Sigma can.
Yeah, I could be wrong, but I don't recall ever seeing a defense matrix eating up Molten Core. But obviously Sigma can, so that might be a difference between two. It does seem a little strange that one would be able to and not the other, but I just genuinely can't think of a situation where I've ever seen Matrix eating up Molten Core.
Well, there you go. It's on you, Sample. And Shiro, please help us test out this theory. Play Diva, play Torbjorn. I don't mind that there's a match going on. Just help us test out this theory, please.
And it looks like we've had a bit of a substitution on the side of East Coast Krakens as well, as Imperial actually going to the bench for this round, and instead we're bringing in Choo Choo to presumably fill that off-tank role as we move over to Eichenwald. And it will be East Coast Krakens on defense versus Choo Choo coming out on the Sigma.
It's an interesting choice then. yeah, why do you sub out a player if they're going to jump on the same hero? Unless you've either A, got some different strat up for attack, maybe you're going to run a pirate ship, or perhaps maybe Zimperial just having some connection issues.
Could be. Or it also could be that because this is Eichenwald, and because Eichenwald goes through 3 different stages that all pretty much want different compositions, it could just be that they run different tanks on second and third point, and they want someone who's got a more rounded kit as opposed to someone who's just really, really good on Sigma when they're not planning to run Sigma the whole time. So that's the third possibility I'd put out there. But I suppose we'll find out as things unfold. They will be running the defensive Farah as well, who's really good here, especially on this first stage.
Talk about the attack right now.
Yeah.
I mean, a Wrecking Ball Echo-led attack. Salad's already run in, got anti-heal, had to get out and dodge, but they're putting so much pressure on right now. Choo-Choo, knocked around. Salad's doing a great job on this Wrecking Ball, just swinging around the clock tower, being an absolute nuisance to the defending team. East Coast Krakens back on the point. Here comes the pile driver, knocks everyone up in the air, and managed to finish off Rusty Salad. The Wrecking Ball doing as much damage as they can, getting the hell out of dodge. This is great tank play from this main tank. The Resurrection will be used by Wooly, bringing Rusty back into the fight. It's now a 6v6 again. But Weeweed so low, had the Nano Boost, not able to get it off in time to save anyone else. Salad doing another great job. So far leading the elimination tally. Wooly taking another fight, got stuck by Mega Smiley. And with that, Orion are going to clean up point A and get their progress started.
Honestly, I'm super impressed by the defensive healing line of East Coast Krakens, though. If you were watching their health bars throughout the fight, they were all super low for a very long time, and it took so long for those kills to come through. I thought once Rusty went down, the rest would soon follow, especially when Wooly went off to res. But we were managing to keep the team up, despite the withering fire coming in. And I mean, props off to Orion Betel for the amount of pressure they were putting down. I just expected East Coast Krakens to fall apart a lot sooner than they did under that sort of fire.
Well, a lot of ultimates built up by East Coast Krakens. They're going to unleash the Blizzard after that Dragon sailed by earlier, and off the back of that, they're going to get a nice, easy cleanup. Orion stopped in their tracks. Perhaps. Looks like Salad hasn't got the message, still pushing forward. As Hinox finds Weewit somewhere.
Yeah, Hinox actually got both healers during that fight, so they're going to keep this one going because at this point, East Coast Krakens, they need to back up. They've got no healing on the field until Wooly gets back.
They come out with some big ultimates. So East Coast Krakens, it looks like they've got, 5 in the bank just without Shiro, who did drop out. But Orion has ultimates of their own. They're coming up on that Sigma, so they had the Sigma Baptiste, and all importantly, they're coming up on that Echo Ultimate of Mega Smileys that duplicate, and that could be anything that East Coast Krakens is running.
Yeah, that's definitely a lot of potential from that one. I mean, a lot of people seem to favor the tanks because obviously you get the tank hit point pool as well in that altered form, and tank ultimates tend to be some of the more impactful ones. So if I were to hazard a guess, I think maybe you go for the Sigma, try and build up Sigma ult quickly. It's a very impactful ultimate over the top, but it depends on what you need in this particular circumstance as well as to what way you go.
Yeah, if you picked up Sigma, I mean, who really are you going to grab? It's just the Orisa who can fortify out of it. Maybe you go after Weewid. Depending on when you use it, we don't know if Shiro's going to be back on that May. So I wouldn't be surprised, especially given the composition they're playing. I wouldn't be surprised if the Orisa come out. You lay down that supercharger, everyone can take advantage of it. Mega Smiles can fly around, be an absolute pain. Oh, I'm sorry, no, they would be the ones that are the Orisa.
Yeah.
But I mean, imagine Hinox has that supercharger available. You've got 3 shields in front of you. No one is going to be stopping that Hanzo.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest risk to an Orisa play is just getting the damage in there to quickly build that ultimate, because if you've got shields that you're shooting into, which they will, it is a lot to get through to start getting that damage in, whereas there are other heroes who might be able to arc damage around or over. Shiro has reconnected, so we should be underway shortly, and a bit of a silver lining, at least Shiro had used their ultimate in the previous fight, so it's not a huge ultimate reset coming through. Considering that there are 5 ultimates online for East Coast Krakens, anyone else would have been a big drop to the economy. Shiro, on the other hand, didn't have that much to lose in the first place, so might be an opportunity there. And we might even see them come out on a different hero because May on this second point, not as easy. Great on the third point again, but there's limited potential here, especially without someone like a Reinhardt to really follow up when the team's split up.
Indeed. I mean, or do you hedge your bets and say, you know, we'll pick up the May. We think they might get across the bridge given their position. We want that Blizzard to make sure they don't finish point C. I've been thinking about it. I want to see Mega Smileys take on the Mercy. I want to see the duplicated Echo get in there with the blaster. Omega Pega has the barrage over the top, supported by the supercharger out. Rusty is going to do so much damage that the push will be eventually immediately stopped.
Yeah, great turnaround there, especially considering it was a 5v6 fight, but that is the power of a supercharged barrage. I mean, either you deal with the Pharah instantly, or she deals with you almost as quickly. And with that, we'll see a bit of a reset here, but Orion Betel, they've got a lot of tools in their kit here. And they're going to move up through the castle here, which is an interesting move. They're actually going to go all the way up to the high ground by the looks of it.
Smart play. They're going to be walking into a barrage of rockets from Omega, no pun intended. And it looks like East Coast Krakens will be forced back. It's a nice amplification matrix on the high ground. It's going to provide a lot of space for healing, but in the end, Orion Betel just ignore it, so they don't get to make use of their own ultimate. Mega Smileys has duplicated the Sigma, goes down very low. He's healed up, but so far slowly building up that ultimate. As another barrage, Omega Pega has built up another one, cleans up Ryugo. Finishes off Mega Smileys before they are taken down. Great fire grenade onto the remaining members of Orion. Salad has Earthshatter's gonna lay them down. Oh my god, that charge knocked 3 off. What a turnaround from Salad.
Yeah, huge play from Salad there, flipping the fight on its head. With that, they should be able to get this cart through. It looks like Omega Pega coming out in the Junkrat. He's not going to be able to stop that, though, and they will be having to set up for the third phase. That was looking like East Coast Krakens had held that defense after back-to-back barrages there, but Salad, he had other ideas, and it absolutely pays off.
And now you see Omega sticking on the Junkrat, and not too surprising. Pharah not so useful, but Junkrat really good with all these corners you can bounce those grenades off. The cart marching its way forward. Salad just swinging the hammer, not even bothering with the shield, and why would you at this point? You know that your Earthshatter is the most important tool in a team. 2 immortality fields out Shiro in the backline with the Deadeye, forcing Orion to take a little breathing room. And once the Deadeye wears off, the Gravitic Flux will come out, picks up 3, lots of focus onto Choo Choo. The healing is there. Rusty, so far forward, so low, gets taken down, but they trade out for Salad. Both the Reinhardt's down right now. Only the Sigma Shield's available. Mega Smiley's on the high ground. The Deadeye will see that. Picks up the 2. The Dragon sweeps through Weird. Orion Betel on the warpath. They want to push this home. Mega Pega has Riptide, comes out, as does Rusty, so a 2-pronged attack will finish off Hinox. Immortality Field not going to save that Hanzo as Rusty charges back into the fray. Now counter Gravitic Flux for the defending team. Picks up 2, slaps it down. Rusty's Earthshatter, Salad's Earthshatter might have been denied there. And East Coast Kraken's going to roll all over this attack right now. Stop the cart just as it touches the endpoint.
What a comeback there. I thought they were done. I thought the map was over, but they come back through swinging hard, and great comeback from East Coast Krakens. But I just want to take a moment to talk about that Wombo combo from Orion Betel, because it's not the usual combo we see. The Deadeye Dragon Strike, where you can either stay in cover and die to the Dragon Strike, or you can come out and die to the Deadeye. Not a pairing we see together often, but brutally effective.
Indeed. We'll see if Orion's able to make their way forward. Only a rally to their name right now. Thankfully for them, they're only walking into the Earthshatter of Rusty. We've seen how impactful an Earthshatter can be if laid down at the right moment. This is the Eye of the Kaiser spot. Make something happen. No, Rusty goes for the ultimate but gets denied. Salad taking them out in the middle of that. There's the Earthshatter off the table. A Fire Strike following out onto Papega. We'll see this cart getting so close. Another Gravitic Flux will enable Mega Smileys and Hinox to finish off the remaining members. We win. Immortality filled out. He's immediately taken down as a Riptide on its way as Rusty's back out, blocks an Earthshatter, able to stay alive, and a great Riptide takes 2 out. Rusty down, but in the end, Orion pushing it through. Not enough of East Coast Krakens remaining on the cart. Orion with a nice time to finish off Iconvolt.
Yeah, you got to be happy with finishing that much time in the bank. It is not an easy map to even finish in the first place. So, a minute 23, got to be pretty happy with that one. And Orion Betel, they're keeping this momentum up. They're looking really in control. There were some great fights there from East Coast Krakens, but ultimately, Orion Betel are looking like the team in control so far in this match. We'll see if that can change, because East Coast Krakens, they're going to need to make that change if they want to hold on to their rank in this bracket.
I'll be interested to see if Papega comes out again on that Farah. You know, it's definitely something you can run on the attack. For the side of Orion as well, if you think the East Coast is going to run out of Farah, do you run something to counter? You saw Mega Smileys have, on that McCree previously, has also played the Ash, so certainly some options open for them, and given what they're rolling out of right now, I think they might be opting for it.
Yeah, I mean, Mega Smileys was doing really great on the Ash, back on Nepal, back in the Sanctum, getting a lot done, getting a lot of early picks, first kills that have, you know, basically ended the fight when it started. And definitely the opportunity to do the same here, but this time it will probably be a pocketed Farah, and that is not an easy target to take out alone. And Hinox not going to be able to provide a lot of support on the anti-air from that Tourbillon, so we'll see how it goes, because pocketed Farah definitely not the easiest target in the world.
No, typical bunker setup from Orion, using that Tourbillon turret to great effect just to bust through the barriers of Krakens.
Ooh, that's a good wall.
Yeah, it is. They're quite happy to walk straight through into that barrage of fire and make their way onto the point. The turret taken out of the fight as Rusty makes their way forward, a fire strike through just to try and build up to that Earthshatter swinging away right now. The Immortality Field there to keep the Reinhardt alive. Another Immortality Field for Orion, a little out of position, not really benefiting everyone, but they don't need it. Sample going to finish off Rusty. Eggy knocking around Shiro, and with that, the cleanup will be there. Orion holding on for the moment.
Yeah, a bit of a lost opportunity there for East Coast Krakens. They had Eggy completely isolated from the rest of the team, and they decided to ignore it rather than dealing with one of the supports when they were cut off. Tried to fight the rest of the team. Eggy's able to get through, get onto their backline and start causing havoc. And yeah, it really shouldn't have been able to go that way, but they don't prioritize taking out the isolated target.
No, they don't. Similar defensive position, Orion pushing forward. And again, because Kraken's ignoring it, marching through the choke point. Smart play there. Fire Strike will take Ryugo out of the fight, and Resurrection onto Shiro. We'll see a player advantage for East Coast Krakens as they make their way in. They lose Omega in the process and walk straight into both a Multicore and the Gravitic Flux.
Ooh.
That will be enough to finish them off. Bob, just for good measure, taking Wooly out of the sky. And Orion again holding strong. 2 minutes left on the clock.
It was a very expensive defense, though, popping 3 ults there. That said, it's not going to matter because we're seeing a full comp swap coming through from East Coast Krakens. So any economy that they would have gained by having the defenders overcommit is irrelevant because they're resetting their economy anyways. And I mean, if it's not working for you, now is the time to swap. But we'll see if this is the change of pace they're looking for. They managed to weather the first bit. They're on the point. They have the position now. There goes Omega.
Supercharge route might make the difference, and it does. Salad and Sample marching forward. This tank line is unstoppable right now. They don't need no DPS to do the damage. They've got themselves covered. The Supercharge is actually protected by the turret there. As Orion again repulse Krakens, and things are looking a bit rough for them now.
Yeah, the Supercharger also going a long way to get the ultimate rotation coming back around, all that extra damage. That said, Shiro's got a Riptire up, and against the bunker, if he's able to weave that one through, that could be absolutely devastating. He does, however, have to get through the Torb turret that's going to lock onto it, and potentially have to worry about Mega Smileys as well. We can take that thing
right
down.
Now, he's going to unleash it. Coming around the outsides, going around the back. Smart play. Trying to target the tanks, but only hits the Immortality Field. But it does force a retreat from Orion Betel. They're going to counter with a Molten Core to make this path very perilous for the attacking team. And they just corral them into the Gravitic Flux. Slap! Down goes Rusty and Sample again coming up with the goods. This tank line is amazing.
That said, it may have been too little too late. The DPS is still alive, and just not enough members remaining of the defenders by that point. It was a huge Gravitic Flux, but in the end, the casualties they'd taken a little big. That said, they're going to come back in. They're going to fight for this one.
He's contesting the point. He's got the immortality field. You're not going to take down the Bob. They try and boop him out of it. They just boop him into a wall. Rusty swinging away. Bob finally leaves, and Rusty lays down the Earth Shatter and mashes High Nox into the car off the back of it. In the end, East Coast Krakens are going to take the point.
Yeah, they take the point, but it is expensive. That Bob, combined with the immortality field, forces out several more ultimates just to secure the point, which is ultimately what you're looking for in that sort of situation. If you can completely repulse them, that's great. But if not, at least you can force them to use all of their resources so that they come into the next stage completely poor. They're on this ground-based composition that's not really suited for the second stage of Eichenwald either. So now the members of East Coast Krakens, they got a choice between resetting their economy again or trying to tough it out here when they really don't have an ideal comp for this stage of the map.
The cart so far pushing forward. East Coast Kraken's doing a good job of forcing Orion to come to them. If they want to stop the cart, they need their big bodies there doing so. But we'll see if they notice Mega Smiley's in the backline just plinking away at Papega. McCree not having a fun time of it right now. Sample, the kinetic grasp going to eat so much, but not going to eat the gravitic flux. The Brigida and the Sigma caught in that, and it will be cleaned up. The support line coming up with 4 kills at the end of that fight for East Coast.
Yeah, and that was the... Oh, goodbye, McCree. Oh, but goodbye Zaya, though. Sorry, that wasn't McCree, it was Ash. I mean, I think you take that there because you're going to get back into that fight, and that Zaya is not. So this is going to be an opportunity here for Orion Betel to stop this one if they can get their Reinhardt out in time. Are they going to go for it? Yeah, here comes Salad.
Yeah. They wait and group up quite nicely. They've got an amplification matrix. They deal with Shiro's tire. It's not going to be making an impact. Bob on the field again gets booped off the side. That's how you deal with it. Wooly sending Rugo down with the Bob. And making Papega on the side. The Deadeye cleans up too. Kills coming back for Orion. Salad and Sample, they're sticking to this cart. They've got the Brigida healing available to them. They're going to hold it out.
And that's it. That's just it. Because Choo Choo got sent off, they were unable to have the Zaya in that fight. And in the end, not having that second tank makes so much of a difference, especially when the defenders have such a close spawn. And so as a result, Orion Betel able to hold there. 30 seconds left on the clock. There's going to be one more chance to crack this open. And East Coast, they don't really have a lot. They've got a sound barrier, but that's really the only ultimate currently on there. Salad is going to get a shatter in this fight, though.
They may need to use that sand barrier to get in, and they do, but it's not enough for Shiro. Going to be taken down by Mega Smileys. Car is slowly pushing forward, but it's currently a 5v6. The Earth Shadow is going to be available for Salad. They lay down Weewit and Rusty, who are immediately removed from the fight. It's just the stragglers left for East Coast Krakens. Orion Betel want to put themselves on match point. They are going to do it. Overtime burning down. They take Eichenwald. Shiro tries to make it back, but it's not enough. Orion Betel looking for the upset win.
Yeah, they are looking really hot right here. And as we were saying before, they've really been in control most of this game. And that's not great for East Coast Krakens, who on paper are the stronger team here. But maybe when things are getting... Oh, this was such a big charge. Oh, it's disgusting. But maybe when things are going their way, East Coast Krakens looking really strong, but in the thick of things, Orion Betel seem to be coming out on top more often than not. And well, we'll be heading over to Assault next. If there's ever a map mode that is going to change the momentum, it's 2CP. So definitely a chance here for East Coast Krakens to get things back under control. It is the game mode that is most about the set plays that they have looked really good at. We'll see if this is where they begin the reverse sweep.
Let's hope so. I don't want this match to end too soon. Yeah, I don't mind getting into the next match at some point, but I want this one to go all the way. These teams, they're playing for positioning coming into playoffs, and even if these teams do finish second and third, then you really need to make sure you have your measure of your opponent, because if we see a rematch of this in 2 weeks, you don't want to be coming in as the team that previously lost. You know the other team knows exactly how you're playing. They're ready for you. They're raring to go. They're thinking, oh, we've got this locked up. We're going straight to the final. So East Coast Krakens really need to pull it out now. And they've made a swap. Zimperial coming in, Rusty coming out. So swapping out their main tank.
Yeah, that's an interesting one because
Yeah.
I'm assuming that Choo Choo will go over to the main tank role then, since we know Zimperial is the hot Sigma. But who knows? But I'm
We could
very
see double
surprised
off
that they've
tank.
got a player. Yeah, I mean, would you run double off tank on Hanamura, which is by the looks of
See,
it where we're going?
I wouldn't want to run it, but I
Ah,
feel
there we go.
like never mind. I'll finish the anecdote anyway. I feel like I've seen it in my comp games sometimes. You just come up against a team that runs two off tanks, particularly on Anubis. For some reason I just see it on Anubis a lot. It's that Roadhog Zarya, and I never know how to deal with it. So anyway, we're onto Hanamura, and they've put Rusty in. So the initial tank line of the match, Rusty Zimperial, is on the board for East Coast Krakens.
Yeah,
Looking
I think
more of that solid Orion Sig play, I'd imagine.
I'd imagine so. And I think there was one point where for about 2 weeks there was a meta in the Overwatch League where you ran Roadhog as a main tank on some maps, and it was Hog Zarya. Because I do have some vague memories of Muma on Hog in a Hollywood defense, but it was a strange meta, and it was very pick based. It's all about hooking people in, getting those quick picks, and then rolling over with number advantage. And I could see it working if you're running a pick comp on like a 2 CP defense. I could see it working in the same horrible way, but it looks like that won't be the case. And we're gonna be heading in to Hanamura. We've had a team swap so that Orion Betel will now be playing from the blue, and East Coast Kraken is playing from the red. However, in lobby, it looks like only one of the team names was updated. So as a result, you may see some confusing things in terms of player and team names from the spectator point of view, unless that gets resolved.
It's all right. We have a layout for this kind of thing for a reason. And East Coast Krakens, so they're going to be starting out on the attack. There you go. They need to make sure they set the tone for this match. They need to get that 2-point capture done, and I feel that they need to get it done quickly. Otherwise, Orion Betel's going to be sitting quite confident coming into their own attack.
Yeah, definitely. That said, they're going to be rolling out with this Ryan Zarya push, and by the looks of it, with Omega Papega on that sim, they're going to be looking for the quick teleport onto point. And, well, that could work, but it might be a bit nasty. With Hinox on the Junkrat, that could be a very nasty surprise for any team that's looking to group up together in one spot in order to make that maneuver happen. A lot of potential for the Junkrat to disrupt that. And look at, he's already gotten 60% towards that ult.
Yeah, Orion Betel ready for that transition. Hinox removing the Symmetra from the fight. There's going to be no photon barrier available to them. Removes Rusty. So the first 2 kills coming through for the defending team right now. Orion on top of this fight as Willie goes down. That's going to be the end of this attack. Over almost before it started.
Yeah, I think if you see a Symmetra running out and you're on Junkrat, you've got to be licking your lips because you know what they're going to try and do, and you've got exactly the tool for when that comes through. Sure enough, the moment the tally went up, there was a concussion mine launched on top of it, and that is why Omega Papega died instantly, trying to get that AoE damage as everyone teleports through all at the same time, and just horrible things done by everyone being in that tight space.
Well, they're stuck with the Symmetra, but this time they put it on the high ground where there's not much opportunity for Orion to get at it. They've got a tire coming around. That tire can climb walls. I'd be very worried if I was East Coast Krakens, and there's 2 people who didn't worry enough. Sample going to follow up with 2 kills of their own. Again, another attack repulsed fairly simply.
Yeah, it's a cheap fight win, and as a result, I mean, Salad's now got the supercharger online. That is a lot of Orisa damage to get that one online, especially when Mega Smiley is still at 60% towards Bob. So Salad putting in a lot of chip damage in these fights as well. That said, ultimates are going to be coming online for East Coast as well. They're going to have a blizzard soon. That could be very dangerous, because you should be able to get about 3 people with that without too much difficulty. But Mega Smileys is playing apart from everyone else and is a big threat on the high ground that will need to be dealt with.
Going to be no Blizzard available. Shiro down, Omega Papega gone as well. East Coast Krakens moving in, but they've got no damage to make any use of the space they've got. Hinox and Sample again showing up on the kill feed. The nice accretion going to finish on Weewit. As East Coast Krakens are down to under 2 minutes left, and they're going to be running into a battery of ultimates of Orion.
Yeah, it's a little too late to go for a comp swap at this point. They still haven't been able to execute any ultimates. Like, the only swap they made was moving Omega Vapega off of that Symmetra. That said, Hinox, he's going to drop down off the position. It's really, this one's looking like a slow push coming in. Maybe they're trying to get some damage there onto the Ashe. Here goes Bob, into the tight room almost.
Oh, the gravitic flux and lift them up right into those grenades of Hinox. He'll finish off 2, takes Wooly in the end, and East Coast Kraken still going with the rotation, but you just don't have the numbers to do it. You need to reset.
Yeah, that's brutal to say the least. And at this point, I mean, they've got 5 ultimates online. This will be their best last chance. Unfortunately, Hinox has another tire. There's also a supercharger on the field. They've got a rally and the amplification matrix. An amplification matrix in front of a Junkrat is just outright terrifying. I do not know how you push through this, but
you don't. If you're Omega, down immediately, and now the ultimates will come out. Everything, absolutely everything invested by East Coast Krakens, but they haven't got any kills out of it. Finally, Eki is the first defender to fall, but you trade out for Rusty. And now we see Shiro on the point trying to get some freezes in, but you lost your tank line, you've lost your healing, you've lost your damage. Hinox is all over you right now. Orion going for the full hold, and they will get it. They have a clear, simple match win condition right now. All they need is 33% on the first point.
Yeah, that is a rough ask. East Coast Krakens, they haven't looked great. Orion Betel, absolutely. And it seems like the longer this match has gone on, the more dominant Orion Betel have been getting. And this latest chapter, a cunning one. Hinox just, on that Junkrat, they're able to, they win the composition game of rock, paper, scissors. They predicted what's coming at them, or at least are confident enough that the Junkrat will do the job, even if they don't run out with that Symmetra comp. And then they just proceed to absolutely devastate on it. There's no counterplay to try and shut down Hinox, who's now going to be running a Symmetra of his own. And, well, I mean, this is almost the opposite of what we saw. Like, the team's running very similar compositions, so maybe we see a similar thing here, but Orion Betel have been looking really, really strong here. So I don't know if you can hold off against it. I mean,
I think Orion Betel may be thinking, you know what, we're going to show you exactly how to run that symmetric composition, looking to take it in one go. I mean, and that would be East Coast Krakens. That'd really play on your mind. If you've tried that comp for 2 minutes, you didn't get anything out of it, and Orion comes in, does it straight away, that's got to hurt. And particularly coming into playoffs, they've got a break next week. They don't get to play again. They don't get to build up their confidence. They need to stop Orion here, and all they're getting out of it is a draw.
Absolutely, but a draw will keep their hopes alive at least for a little while. See the rotation coming onto the high ground, so they're not going to go back onto the point because they saw the Junkrat. But that's going to be a cut-off Ashe. She can still participate from the front.
We'll see if Coast Krakens are able to notice the Ashe is there and put some pressure on her, prevent her from finishing the fight. They're doing well playing around the belt, not providing any space for Mega Smileys to get work done. Omega Papega hunting down the Ashe, finishing her off, and now there's a player advantage to the defending team, a 6v5 on the point. Orion willing to back away, just seeing if they can get some chip damage, maybe get a lucky kill as they wait for the Ashe to return to the fight. They do break down Rusty's shield. Oh, sorry, no they don't. But they lose the shield on their own. Eggy will victim to Wooly.
Salad is absolutely not winning the shield wall with those Junkrat bombs going straight into it. But here comes the Tire looking to end things.
And Mega Smileys gets revenge on Omega as Shiro finishes off Hinox. That's a great trade out for the defending team. Yes, you've got a little further to run back. Oh no, Salad! Sample taking a dive. Zimperial doing what they needed to do. And they've wasted a fair amount of time.
Yeah, that was a really long drawn-out fight. I think the moment you've lost your Ashe there and you're now in a 6v5 situation bottled up there, and the defenders aren't pushing you, you need to make a decision. You can't just hang around there and hope that things go in your favor, because you need to attack. You're running out of time here. They're happy to just bottle up there and shoot their Junkrat bombs into your shield, build up ultimate. They're not under any danger in that situation. And Orion Betel maybe just kept that one going a little too long. Cost a lot of time as a result, but here they come.
Bit of window shopping right now. The amplification matrix is around, the photon barrier on the field. Mega Smiley is going to use that to move in, remove one sample, and Hinox follow up as a nano boost onto Rusty. But all it's going to do is give that Reinhardt a little bit more survivability. They charge forward, try and do some damage. In the end, it was Salad swinging through as Orion Betel capture the point, capture this match. They are looking to make a run into playoffs.
Absolutely, and what a great performance here from Orion Betel tonight, who just, the longer the match went, the stronger they seemed to get. Incredible performance coming out from this roster. And in the end, it gets them the 3-0 victory that is very well deserved.
Oh, just that Gravitic Flux. Okay, the Gravitic Flux didn't actually catch anyone, but it forced them all back right into Hinox's path. Oh. Such great Junkrat play.
Yeah, I mean, people like to meme about Junkrat being a low-skill hero, but most people cannot play it the way Hinox was there. He's bouncing grenades off all sorts of environment to get in and around those shields, doing huge amounts of damage there, putting so much pressure onto the opponents. That is the sign of a truly great Junkrat, and he's just using map geometry in ways that us mere mortals cannot comprehend.
So, I mean, if we've talked about Hinox, fantastic work particularly on the Torbjorn and the Junkrat. If I'm looking at players who I consider best on ground for Orion, I mean, I wouldn't go far past this tank line. Yeah. In particular, I adored what Salad was doing. We saw that opening play on Eichavold on the Wrecking Ball just being such a nuisance, swinging around swinging around the clock tower, and then getting the first 2 kills of the fight on attack as a Wrecking Ball. That's not something I don't think I've ever seen before. And then that Earth Shatter to clean up the second point. That fight was lost for Orion. They should not have got that cart through to the end. But Salad lays down the Earth Shatter, clears 3 people off the sides, and all of a sudden, Orion's back in it.
Yeah, Salad definitely my MVP as well, as you say. Incredible performance on that main tank, turning around fights that should be lost, winning those Rhine v Rhine battles against Rusty, who was putting up a good fight, but just wasn't making the difference enough there. And of course, as you say, the Wrecking Ball, just getting in, getting those big pile drivers, getting lots of damage down onto the whole team, really straining the resources of the enemy healers, and able to get a second pile driver in just to start finishing people off. Just really, really solid tank play from Rusty there, and definitely key to ensuring that the DPS players had the space they need to put out the good performances.
Indeed. I'd like to also shout out to the support line for Orion. Eggy and Ryugo, they only played 1 hero each. That was just Ryugo on the Baptiste, Eggy on the Brigadier. That's all they needed to get this done. And that just shows how good they are on their support heroes. They don't feel the need to change it up for different compositions. They know that they can get the job done. They can carry the day on these heroes they are so good at. So if you're running into Orion, coming into playoffs, you want to watch out for those two. If you can't deal with the amount of healing they're doing, you're going to have a tough time getting through Orion's front line.
Yeah, absolutely. But in the end, incredible performance from Orion. Krakens unable to make it happen, but chances are we'll be seeing these two teams going head-to-head again in playoffs. In fact, I believe the way the seeding is likely to go at this point, it probably will be these two in the first round of playoffs, unless I'm very much mistaken.
I fully expect that to be the case, and I mean, if you're Krakens, you were sitting pretty, but you're a little shaken now, and I wonder how it'll play on their minds. They've got the week off next week. They can't bounce back in the next week and say, you know what, we'll just come back and reassert your mental stability. You've got to spend that next 2 weeks really thinking about it, going, what did we do wrong? Can we improve? And I wonder if that might play on them. I look forward to that rematch happening, as, of course, the winner from that match will go through the final where they'll be playing for their share of the prize pool provided by My Republic.
Absolutely. And they do have one thing going in their favor in these 2 weeks of prep. which is to say they've got a lot of footage that they can use to go over in VOD review. It certainly would be a lot harder if this wasn't the game being broadcast and they were in the same spot. So they do have that on their side, and I wish them the best in preparation for the likely rematch coming up in a couple of weeks. Speaking of matches coming up, we are going to be having our Division 1 match between PowerAnchors and ADSL2 Plus coming up shortly. The two juggernauts of Division 1 going head-to-head. So don't go anywhere. That'll be coming up in about half an hour. We'll just be going on a break until then, and we'll be back real soon.
What's up with it? What's up with it?
Selfie.
Yeah, what's up with it? Yeah, with it. selfie. Yeah, what's up with it? selfie. Yeah, what's up with it? Stepping. Yeah, what's up with it?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, listeners, one and all. Welcome back to round 4 of Ascent, hosted by Amateur Oceanic Esports and sponsored by My Republic Gamer. If you're just joining us, I'm Peronius. Joining me tonight is Temporal, and we are back in action to bring you the long-awaited Division 1 matchup between PowerAnchors and ADSL2+.
I'm glad we could see this during the regular season. Coming into the season, you think maybe this will be the final playoff match, but we know we're getting a little preview tonight. These two teams have so far been undefeated. ADSL2 Plus hasn't even dropped a single map in the tournament so far, so they are on fire right now. They're not far behind them. PowerAnchors only dropped 2 maps over the tournament, one here, one there, but at the end of the day, as long as you're getting those W's, it doesn't really make much of a difference.
Absolutely. Both of these teams reaching the absolute apex of OCE Overwatch. Both of them having their run in contenders. And bit of a mixed results from that. I think ADSL 2 Plus, yeah, they've got their 7th to 8th spot in contenders most recently. PowerAnchors, they made it in a bit for week 3 and 4, but weren't able to stay in there, so didn't finish as high. But it's going to be interesting to see what these two put up, because obviously, as we said, these two are the strongest teams in this bracket, in this division, and we are expecting this to be a precursor to our grand final matchup. But this will teach us who is going to be going into playoffs in that number 1 seed and who's going to go in number 2. This is going to teach both of them a lot about each other as well. There's a lot on the line for these two teams, as it really is going to set the tone. So both of these players fight it out, both of these teams rather, fight it out for their share of the $500 prize pool proudly provided by My Republic Gaming.
And if you're looking for an internet provider to provide you a great internet service, look no further than My Republic, whose gamer package offers great benefits to gamers, such as custom routing, making sure that your gaming traffic gets to where it needs to at the most optimal route. And of course, you get Discord support. What other ISPs offer Discord as a support line? I mean, we're all gamers here. We're all familiar with the program. Peronius and I and Zero sitting in Discord right now. So, and you know what? Honestly, chances are, if you're watching this, you're either in Ascent or AOE Discords. You know how it is. So it's great to have an internet provider making overtures to communities in ways that they can relate to.
Absolutely. And if you find yourself wanting an extra Discord server on your list, never mind. Just a joke. I'm assuming, much like us, you're probably going to have a million Discords. But plug myself? I mean, I do have a Discord, but I wasn't going to plug that one. You can.
We'll save that for the end.
Absolutely. We will be able to kick this one up shortly, as we'll be heading over, as always, to Nepal for our opening matchup. This is going to be PowerAnchors playing from the blue, ADSL playing in red in this opening match. And strap yourselves in, because this should be one heck of a show.
And ADSL2 Plus will certainly be hoping that it is more of a show than the last time these two teams faced off. They faced off in Contenders Trials just recently, and PowerAnchors were able to take that out 3-0.
Ooh.
But if you were looking across the Contenders as a whole, ADSL2 Plus had a slightly better experience. They made Contenders for 3 of the 4 weeks. they also managed to hit the playoffs. They ended up coming 7th, 8th. They, ran into the top seeded team, Ground Zero, and it was a rough experience for them. But the point is, they made contenders playoffs. They were in the top tournament, in the top 8 teams in the land. So they are not a team to be sniffed at, and right now they're on top of the group. So PowerAnchors may be playing up to them a little bit.
And we will actually have PowerAnchors rolling out with Symmetra, using that teleport to get the early point presence. But we'll see if that ultimately falls down in the prolonged fight, because they don't have a stronger source of damage than the Symmetra. Leprechaunik saw it really low in the early stages of this fight. A lot of pressure going onto that Ashe. So some really... I'm actually curious as to where that damage is coming from. Is it May right-click?
That or the sticky bombs. Other way around. Who knows? Maybe Link is throwing out those orbs. But in the end, it is PowerAnchors taking first control of the point, using that speed boost plus the teleporter to great advantage. But now they've got the point. They're happy to push out. They force Crocodile back. That Risk is slightly isolated, as is Flying Luigi's, who has to back away on low health. And the shield pressure from PowerAnchors is so good. You see the shields on ADSL2 so cracked. Ooh. But the ultimates are coming online. There's an amplification matrix. PowerAnchors do not want to let ADSL2 plus anywhere near this point right now. But Flying Luigi's has a Gravitic Flux of their own, picks up 2, slams down Fatebringer. They get so low in the end, they're able to get healed up. They've got the sound barrier. These teams are building up their ultimates so fast. There's the sound barrier for Fatebringer. It doesn't quite save Format's life. Praetoros goes down. And it looks like the damage might be here for ADSL2 as they push their way onto the point. PowerAnchors backing off.
Yeah, they will get the flip, but 45%, a respectable showing for the first fight. They're able to hold the line there for such a long time against those attackers. And ADSL2 Plus, they look like they're happy to play a slow game there. They were happy to sit there, build up the ultimates, wait until they had Flying Luigi's able to initiate with the slam. Even then, Clip responds with a great May wall to prevent any follow-up through. And it almost looks like it might be drawn out, but then they lose their Reinhardt.
And they walk straight into a supercharger. There's a blizzard on top of the pillar where ADSL2 Plus is set up, but they're not too worried about it. They've got the kill advantage they need. A nice Earth Shatter coming through, going to be taking care of the remaining members of PowerAnchors, and in the end, they're forced back to spawn yet again.
I'm a little surprised that Lynx is still on the Symmetra. I would have assumed that was just for that opening burst to get the early point presence, because that can be so important, but they're actually sticking on this Symmetra, and it's not like Symmetra's ultimate is the biggest, most impactful ultimate in the world. I mean, it is actually the biggest ultimate on a sort of size sense, but it's not usually an ultimate you're so excited to keep because it is purely defensive. There it is now.
What better way to fight double shield than with triple shield? They're going to make use of the ultimate to go onto the point, ADSL2, and take a more circuitous route, not wanting to put up with the photon barrier in the way, and Earth Shatter coming through from Format will lay multiple members of ADSL2 Plus down as he charges through, finishing off 2, gets killed for his efforts, but Fatebringer a little bit of risk. Some trades here, Bob on the point, but the point is already flipped over to PowerAnchors. ADSL2 Plus, yeah, you can keep this fight going, but you currently don't have control. It'll be up to which reinforcements get back faster. I see Format charging around as Clip takes Zealous out of the fight. Leprechaunik not long for this world. ADSL2 Plus eventually will be forced back.
It was a good, solid effort. I think that they weren't wrong to commit in there with the Bob. They thought maybe they had the opening, but unfortunately Bob gets CC'd a little bit. He does get woken up as well, but ultimately not able to get the high value in just the right moment, and then the respawns come through. There was a real opportunity there, but really well played by PowerAnchors to deny it, I think. I don't disagree with that late commitment.
Well, they're choosing their path carefully. They have a feeling they're going to be running into No-Toast's Gravitic Flux, which they do. It opens in the doorway, picks up 3, slaps them down. The Immortality Field will make sure everyone survives the immediate aftermath. The Clip removing that is going to force the support line from ADSL2 Plus to be doing a phenomenal job, and that they do. They lose Leprechaunik, though Slonk is down to a courtesy of a Fire Strike from Format. Flying Luigi's Grab Flux gets 1, but in the end, the numbers are going to favour the defending team. PowerAnchors are in overtime. It burns down that they secure the first round here on Nepal, which again was Village.
Yep. It's how it works. We always go to Village when you're here, it seems, but Nonetheless, a great performance from both of these teams. This is definitely the top tier gameplay we were expecting here. But PowerAnchors, they're able to power on through after some really close fights. And in the end, they're able to take that first stage. Now we're going to go over to Sanctum, which does seem to come up quite often as our second map as well. It seems like Shrine we don't see quite as much as the other two.
No, I'm curious. Maybe Shrine's been removed from the game, just a little stealth from Blizzard, and they haven't put it in the patch notes anyway, because I haven't seen it in a while. What we are going to see is some Orisa Sigma play. You see Orisa come out on this point quite a bit, and it's no surprise these two teams, they know how to play the game. They've shown at the highest level of Australian Overwatch that they can, so they're going to bring out the most optimal comps they know.
Absolutely. Neither team getting the early point presence, but PowerAnchors, they do have the high ground there. They're going to be able to push forwards. Now they've got someone on the point as well. Format taking position there, but ooh, early kills both the Sigmas going down, but Format picking up Crocodile. That's in the trade backs here.
Yeah, the tank line though down for... excuse me. The tank line down for... No, ADSL2 Plus will make it a lot harder for them to re-engage. So with Leprechaunic popping off like that, it may not be too bad for them. Just a sad little Brigadier stuck in the room, going to be cut down, and Leprechaunic carrying ADSL2 on their backs in that fight.
Yeah, absolutely. 69% ultimate charge. That is a nice position to be in. And that's going to be a bob coming up before too long. PowerAnchors, they got 13% from that opening engagement, but it's already been matched. Not a huge amount there because of how quickly everything came undone there. But now we have Lynx over onto the Ashe as well, and they are just trading dynamite back and forth.
Yeah, Immortality Field forced out already, but Lynx taking care of that. They do use that little opportunity to get rid of Clip. Now ADSL2, they're set up on the point. PowerAnchors looking to take the fight to him. There's a nano boosted Ashe. Lynx pumping out the damage right now, but not quite seeing anything. Leprechaunic, in the meantime, has a much better angle, removing Format and Praetora. So the fight, Leprechaunic is on fire here on Sanctum, and kind of appropriate. This is Zenyatta's home, and home to my favourite voice line, I'm on fire, but an extinguisher is not required.
Absolutely. Great play there from Zealous, who again takes down Clip. In the previous fight, Clip had actually flanked around, and it was that the Zenyatta, rather, not Symmetra, who was able to send back the flanking DPS, picks up a kill on Clip a second time as well. So, I mean, it's not great when your DPS that's trying to flank is getting controlled by the enemy Zenyatta.
Wouldn't be surprised to see a duplicate Zenyatta for a bit of revenge, but no, Clip opts for the Sigma, and a smart play there, that big bulky tank, as well as the shield going to be available. Gravitic Flux from Flying Luigi's doesn't get anyone. The rest of PowerAnchors are able to back out of that, and they move forward, removing Maka from the fight. The duplicate coming to nothing after being knocked off the side. Lynx finally awakening on the Ashe, moves Krook from the fight. Oh, slog into the well. Format with a nicely timed halt. And that will be the cleanup for PowerAnchors as ADSL2 Plus hits 99%.
Absolutely. They needed that fight. They get that fight. Late kill onto Zealous there will delay the next one. They're looking for the Sig as well. Flying Luigi's really staggered out here, and they're keeping him alive as long as they can manage. They do eventually have to put him down, but that's going to buy them a lot of time. And time is what they need right now. They're only 30% on the clock.
They had to be perfect from here on out, but they've got the tools to work with. They've got a few ultimates online, including that supercharger. Provides so much damage, and Lynx is able to connect with headshots with that supercharger out. It's going to be very difficult for ADSL2 Plus to push in. But they have a supercharger of their own. Krook opens up with that. The shield's going to protect it. Flying Luigi's taking care of No Toast for you. No's life for you, Toast. They're going to make their way on the point with a great boom. It's going to send Krook off the side. Leprechaunic and Marco doing what they can to keep ADSL2 Plus in this fight. But they're having trouble dealing with Format, who's just alone. Orisa stalling on the point right now. Flying Luigi's is low, trying to protect their team as Zealous removed from the fight. Noto's back on the Wrecking Ball, doing what they can to remove the Zenyatta.
Oh, that's...
ADSL2 Plus moved out. Oh, another boom. No Toast. Locks Flying Luigi off the side. Leprechaunic is doing what they can to keep ADSL2 Plus in this fight, but the kills they're getting are just not enough with no Toast. Move slow, sorry, Krook able to flip the point back, but the anti-heal will make sure there's no healing for that Orisa. The point is flipped, Power Anchors need to make a move onto the point now, or overtime is going to burn down, and ADSL2 Plus is going to level us up. Format back on the point, supercharged down. The grab flux denied. That must have been cancelled because Flying Luigi's back on the point after not lifting anyone up. And the supercharger from Format is proving to be a great deterrent. The two tanks for ADSL2 Plus stuck on the point right now, but they're slept. There's hardly any support available to them. They're being beaten and bullied around by the tanks of Power Anchors right now. A great bio grenade. Crocodile so low, can't get any healing, makes their way back out, ends up dying. Link's picking up 3 kills, and eventually the point will be flipped, but the brawl is still ongoing, Peronius.
Yeah, absolutely. They're going to have maybe one more chance to get on here. It's going to be rough, though, with how messy the end of that fight was. They're swapping over to the speedy heroes, and we do see the members of Power Anchors surging forward, trying to disrupt that. The Doomfist uppercut onto the ball may mean he's not able to get onto the point. Great play there from the Doomfist to disrupt any chance of getting back on there. And with that...
finish. Oh. Well, Power Anchors, I mean... they had all the kills they need, but they just couldn't deal with Leprechaunic until the very end, and ADSL2 Plus almost brought that back off the back of that Ash play.
Yeah, that was absolutely what they were looking for there. Just incredible. The fight got so close with just a couple of tanks still left on that point. I'm still reeling, trying to piece everything together into my mind because... yeah, it's just, wow.
It's just so back and forth. You think one team has the advantage, and all of a sudden the other team has the advantage. And honestly, those tanks for both teams survived so long on the point. They couldn't deal with each other because being tanks are survivable and they don't do necessarily much damage. And I guess the supports for both teams able to come back around the edges of the map and keep their tanks just alive in the fight. It's a great play, particularly from the tank lines, putting up such a fight on the point and making a show of it.
I want to give it up to the Anna, for the Power Anchors Anna, who was just sitting there popping alternating healing between the Orisa on the point and the Ash that was on the flank, and just staying safe, staying in cover, yet healing 2 people in 2 very different places to keep that like double-pronged assault alive on the point, because it was very hard to attack that Orisa while you've got an Ash in the off angle providing that threat as well. And that was really the key to keeping everything in there with how close it got.
And that's a great support. And I'm not surprised from a player with the name of such a great skillful weapon that comes from the Destiny universe. Fatebringer. Just wanted to throw that in there because Bungie, please bring it back for Destiny 2. Anyway. As we move on, we'll be going to our hybrid map, and we didn't make the customary jokes about it before we played Archinvolved in the last match, but here we go, King's Row, Scrim's Row, whatever row you like to row your boat down, it's going to be here.
Yeah, it's long been the favorite, the most practiced map in Overwatch, home ground for literally every team, and we'll just be heading in just a moment. We'll still be seeing Power Anchors from the blue. We'll be having ADSL Blades still playing from the red, so Power Anchors will be defending first. And, well, based on that last one, I mean, these teams, they're fighting so close to each other, but in the end, Power Anchors just keeps managing to come out just ahead. But will that change here on King's Row, which is all about that Reinhardt?
Indeed, and what we can see for these teams is their record in the tournament. We mentioned it before, ADSL2 Plus hasn't dropped a map, Power Anchors has, but we don't quite know which maps Power Anchors has dropped. So maybe they're control specialists and never lose it. Maybe it's hybrid that they struggle on. They get it in their head. Maybe they get a little too confident after stomping teams on control. They come into hybrid and go, we got this, and then end up giving it up. So that might need to play into ADSL2's Plus strategy. I mean, these teams know each other. They probably know each other's strengths really well. So I wouldn't be surprised if ADSL2 Plus is maybe letting control go. They go, you know what, we've played them on control before. We know how good they are. Let's just move on to the next map. We know we can get them here on King's Row, especially when it's our choice. And we can set the tone for the map because we're on attack. And what an attack it looks like it might be.
Yeah, both teams opting for Orisa here on this first point, and we're actually seeing them coming out on the Bastion. So looking to set up an angle, they're going for the high ground there. It's going to be a bit tricky to deal with what's being brought, but at the same time...
Dynamite.
Yeah, if Clip is able to get a duplicate on that Bastion, however, that can be absolutely horrifying.
that. I want to see No Toast saved by the Immortality Field. Went very low, copped an accretion to the face, but the Baptiste is there. Praetoros is like, you know, mate, I got you. And Clip gets the one up on the Echo Duel, will be keeping a close eye on that over the course of the map as Lynx and Fatebringer chime in with kills of their own. That attack stopped dead right now is just Flying Luigi's left.
Yeah, they'll just be running at the enemy, forcing them to forcing the defenders to reset them because they know they can't get out of that one safely. And I do like the use of Echo to set up that sort of flanking off angle to get shots around that bunker position they're trying to set up with the Bastion. So defenders from PowerAnchors playing this really well, getting in that flank, doing a bit better on the flank than they were previously, not getting clipped off by Zens this time. And now it looks like the attackers just looking to push up around that statue. They've given up on the Leprechaun going over to the Ash. They've given up on the Bastion. But there is the Matrix.
PowerAnchors showing a lot of respect to ADSL2, flexing back around the back of the point, using that cover. They do allow ADSL2 Plus to get him, but it's just to lure them into a trap. Lynx and Clip showing up. Bob on the field, going to make sure the cleanup is there, and he's just waiting out the front of his hotel, waiting for his bags to arrive. In the end, they're going to clean up, and ADSL2 forced back to the drawing board.
Yeah, I like the way PowerAnchors are winning these fights because they are getting the key pieces out that's turning it into a lost fight, but they're doing it in such a way that there are several people just split in a bad position that, like, they're going to get staggered out, and they are getting those extra couple of seconds before they go and clean up, like the vulnerable support stuck in a bad position. So it's giving them extra time, and it's these little bits of time here and there that can absolutely make the difference in the long run. So I like the way they're winning these fights. Ooh.
Fatebringer are forced to fall. Slonk finding their way through the shields with those lovely orbs, finding Fatebringer's head of all things. That's going to force PowerAnchors to drop onto the point. They need to make a stand here and now. One down. They don't have that Discord orb in play. The lane, thankfully, they're not facing into one of their own. As it No Toast gets taken down in the middle of the Prophetic Flux, and with the Transcendence in play from Slog, ADSL2 going to march onto the point. And I'm seeing double. There's two wrists on the field.
There certainly are, but yes, that Transcendence coming in absolutely clutch to prevent the Gravitic Flux from being able to turn that fight around. With that, ADSL2 Plus will get the point under control. 3 minutes, 20 seconds on the clock, and a late kill onto Clip, which is going to allow them to take so much space through streets here.
Oh, you gotta hate that, isn't it? You think, oh, I'm fine in the air. No, dynamite flies through the air, and of course, Leprechaun can detonate it a little bit early.
Yeah, now the members of PowerAnchors, they're bottled all the way back into the third stage of the map, waiting for all of their players to be regrouped. Now they're going to start moving forwards once more, but they're actually going to see
Clip, yeah, duplicating the Sigmas, and two Sigmas marching forward side of PowerAnchors, so they march straight into a Gravitic Flux. The Transcendence from Fatebringer will keep those two Sigmas alive as Bob jumps on the field, removes the Immortality Field, and Clip's Gravitic Flux is a whole lot better. Removes Crocodile from the fight. Format takes out the Bob. Trade's going back and forward. So both teams fairly even right now, but it looks like PowerAnchors may have control of the cart for the time being. With the players low, Fatebringer being taken out, great dynamite going to finish off the Zenyatta. It looks ADSL2 Plus pushing back into the fight, and the reinforcements coming back. Going to mean PowerAnchors has to fall away.
Ooh, and Clip there, taking a Gravitic, getting knocked out of the air, and then cleaned up there. Rough way to go. Now we're going to have one last fight here before the second stage, and I imagine Crocodile's going to look to drop the Supercharger here to try and confirm this one. We may see it from Format as well on the defense. So this could really go either way here. Yep, there they are.
Praetoros has the amplification matrix. There is double damage charging through. It's going to give Flying Luigi's a whole lot of those adaptive shields provided by the Kinetic Grasp. The trade's going back and forth. They're going to favour Flying Luigi's. Uses those shields to survive the Gravitic Flux. Throws down two members, and in the end cleans up Clip as the cart pushes through to the end of the second point.
And ADSL2 not making up for lost time there on the first point. Absolutely blazing through that second one. 3 minutes left on the clock as we move into the final stage here. And we'll see if PowerAnchors can bring up a defense here. Well, Leprechaunik going down early is a great start to that.
That it is, and the neutral fight was always going to decide this first hold. Neither team with ultimates on the board. No Toast almost there with the Gravitic Flux. Will have it online in a nick of time if they are able to survive. With those heals from Protoros, I think they're going to be just fine. Well, there is the Gravitic Flux, speaking of, countered by the Transcendence, so as long as using that a little earlier than they might have wanted to, perhaps wanted to use it a little later into the fight. Immortality fields out from both sides, as is the Bob. Clip again, copies the Sigma with the duplicate, has their ultimate already. I think every Hypersphere hit then lives up to, and the rest of the team follows up with the kills. Power Anchors holding firm at the entry to the third point.
Absolutely, they're bottling in here, but they've used a lot of resources to make it happen. They still got Fatebringer with the defensive Transcendence, however, and that could be the difference. Maka has the duplication available, and Leprechaun's got Bob as well, so we could be looking at a 6v8 fight in this next team fight.
That's alright, copy the Ash, build up the Bob, send the second Bob, and... I mean, are they the same? Sorry, won't get distracted. Leprechaun picks off format at the start of the fight. The Transcendence has to be used for Fatebringer, not even to counter any ultimates. You've lost your main take, you lose no toast. The entire take line is gone. Bob is cleaning up. Leprechaun on fire right now, picking up 4 in that fight if you count Bob's kills. ADSL2 Plus investing very little in that fight, getting so much more out of it.
Yeah, they're in a great position here. They're going to have the Gravitic Flux and the Supercharger here coming into the final straight. Absolutely the tools they need to close this out, and the kills still coming through for Leprechaunic. They're going all the way with this one.
The tanks for Power Anchors just caught out. They spawned first, they ran out, they had to stop the car, but in the end, the support line wasn't able to get out in time. ADSL2 Plus walked all over them, and they finished the map with 52 seconds left in their time bank.
It's a respectable position to be in, but not the fastest Kings Row ever done. So there's still not over yet. Power Anchors, they could come out swinging here and set a much better time. The potential is there, but we'll see. If I'm hoping that, and I'm sure that Chad is not visible for stream, but.
Well, if you are, you've been put on notice, and if you're not, we'll pretend that never happened. So ADSL2 Plus, a great time, a good bounce back after losing the pole in 2 rounds, and they've kind of got Power Anchors where they're on them right now. They can, defending the map and preventing a full completion is a doable target for them.
Yeah, definitely. It could really go either way. Like it could either be Power Anchors blaze through this, set a awkward time for ADSL2 to respond to, or they get held. Both equally likely, as well as these two teams have been going off against each other. It's hard to say what way this one goes. All I know is I'm looking forward to seeing how this defense gets set up and what Power Anchors roll out with. Looking like they've got the Hanzo initially, but I'm imagining that's just a sonic arrow to scout out the enemy comp, and then they work out what they want to go with from there.
They have dropped down back onto the Echo, so not seeing any surprises in the defense means they're not going to throw any surprises on the attack.
Meanwhile, Leprechaun are going to be using that high ground, getting those dynamites in. We see the attackers go through Hotel.
Yeah, they do, and they've also sent Clip all the way around the back, putting pressure onto that Zenyatta. Zealous caught on the high ground, not expecting the sneaky Echo to come up from behind in the alleyway, and the kills are going to fall the way of Power Anchors. They march onto the point, they're going to take it in a lickety-split.
Yep, that should be an easy one. There might be an opportunity to get a retake in there, but with Slump going down really late, no, they're not gonna go for it. They're not gonna have time to get there, but they will be able to set up an early point B defense, something that we didn't really have on the cards in our previous round here. They're gonna go for the bookshop hold. Power Anchors are surging forwards. They want to unhorse this position as soon as possible.
The tanks go very low. The Immortality field force out just to keep them alive, but the support line is going to make sure they stay alive and are able to do damage. ADSL2 Plus marching forward. They're in the choke point. They've got an amplification matrix. They don't want Power Anchors to experience any respite, even this close to their spawn. Flying Luigi's up in Noto's face, just spamming those hyperspheres in. Eventually forced to back out, but off the back of Leprechaun picking up Clip. A good fight for ADSL2 Plus. They'll have a slight player advantage. Although,
yeah, I'm surprised.
Power Anchors...
Yeah, they're really committing in on this one. I'm actually surprised. And it's not really working out as a result. Now they're dropping in the Gravitic Flux as well. They do manage to get Flying Luigi's with that one. And with the respawn distances, that will give them an advantage in the next fight. But I'm still surprised to see them committing so heavily into what is a lost fight. There goes Leprechaunik now, so they are going to be able to grind this one out eventually. But
ADSL2 plus could commit. They've got the ultimates, but they won't. They're going to back away. See the Orisa just galloping away as fast as they can. The Discord orb on them.
Yeah, it's not a comfortable position to commit when you're down, especially missing someone like Leprechaunik. Now Slonk picked up as well by No Toast for You. That's a big pickup.
The Gravitic Flux is going to be invested just to forestall this advance. Zealous has the Transcendence, as does Fatebringer. There's so much healing on the field right now. No one is going to die. Clip on the high ground as the Sigma forced out of the duplicate as Leprechaunik's Bob goes down. Poor Bob taken down by the fellow Omnic in Fatebringer. And now the brawl is happening on this second to last corner of the second point. Both Sigmas just kinetic grasping into each other. It's like watching a mirror right now. Supercharges for both teams out. Immortality fields out for both teams, but the Gravitic Flux from No Toast for You will be their deciding factor. ADSL2 plus crushed back down to the ground by the gravity of the situation. And just like that, Power Anchors going to clean up the second point.
It's crushed back down under the weight of that anchor as the Power Anchors make their way through to the third point. Almost 5 minutes to get it through to the home stretch. They're looking to set a great time here. That's what they're trying to do. They want to come into this with the bigger time bank. They want to come into this having to have their time bank being reduced due to the size of it. But Link's going down early means that may not be on the cards. Here comes ADSL2 plus on the charge.
The amplification matrix going to ensure there is no thought of progress by the Power Anchors. But that was their only ultimate available to them currently, Oronius.
Yeah, it was, but it is a good one for helping charge everyone else's ults up with that extra damage. So it can close the gap in the economies, and with them still picking up kills here, it is rapidly closing the gap in these economies because look at how many are about to come online.
So Power Anchors have got a brief window where they might have an advantage, particularly now the Immortality Field not going to be available from Slonk. They move in with the Amplification Matrix and a Bob of their own. Bob trying to push the cart as managed to take Slonk out of the fight. It's taken down in turn, but Trades going either way. Flying Luigi's being the difference here, using that Transcendence provided by Zealous to take out as many members of Power Anchors as they can. Immortality Field currently keeping the remaining attackers alive on the point. Clip doing work. Finishes with 2 kills at the end of that fight. 1.5 if you only count Bob as half a person. I don't know. I might be being a bit omniscient here. That's no toast for you. Marcus Ball with the kinetic grasp. Built up to the Gravitic Flux as another amplification matrix out from Slonk, but they're going to get lifted out from behind it. Crook falls afoul of Fatebringer while sitting in the air. There's now a Transcendence online for Fatebringer. That kill charging up for them. Clip on the Orisa as the duplicate, providing a more shielding, more damage for Power Anchors. As they push forward, they walk through ADSL2 Plus's ultimates, and now they're in position to finish the map.
Absolutely. It's going to be a desperate rush if they can even get out there. I don't know if Crocodile will be able to get the touch. He will get in there. Lelucio coming out to support. Not able to get the bongo down, though. And now it is just Slonk trying to buy time for the rest of the team to come back. Not able to keep it going for long. Flying Luigi's now on the cart, trying to keep everything alive. But they're still so staggered out. They're getting a few kills here and there. Mac has picked up 1, but they're still just trickling onto this point. Now Lynx has gone down, and the Transcendence there will buy time. They can start getting players here. They have the bongo goes down. Power Anchors, they need to clean this up quickly because the reinforcements are going to start coming through if they don't.
Oh, Slonk was focusing down that supercharger but not able to finish the kills off. It's allowed Power Anchors to stay in this fight. The reinforcements from the defending team are there. They've got the numbers they need, but they just need to get the kills to finish off. But the Gravitic Flux coming through, going to deny the Dragon. It looks like ADSL2 Plus are going to hold on thanks to those emergency swaps.
It was so close as well, but they managed to not just get onto the payload, but managed to get a few kills here and there. Maka gets 1, and then we see Leprechaunik getting another, getting the Bob out on there, and it's just the little kills here and there chipping away at the attackers that allows them to stabilize the situation. And with that, they're going to start whittling down this clock. 90 seconds left on the clock. The cart's still perilously close to the end, but now Power Anchors, they're not going to come into this with the massive time back lead they wanted.
Flying Luigi's went low but absorbed so much damage. They almost built their full health again with the kinetic grasp. Clip copying the Orisa, putting down that supercharger. There's going to be so much damage available for Power Anchors. No Toast makes great use of it to enable the team to finish. They finished with roughly 19 seconds more than ADSL2 Plus did.
Yeah, so in the end, it is finishing with an edge, but not as big an edge as they wanted coming into it. They had 5 minutes for that final stretch of King's Row, and yet they get whittled down to about a minute left on the clock when the cap goes through. Really great defense coming out from ADSL2 Plus, as we saw. And now we're gonna, well, now it's we go again, because it is effectively equal time banks. The extra 19 seconds might buy you an extra fight, maybe, but even then, it's not really guaranteed. There's almost no difference between these time banks.
No, I'll be looking at that extra 19 seconds, perhaps buying a little more ult charge. If someone gets up to 90% in the first minute, it's not going to help ADSL2 Plus. Those extra 20 seconds may mean the difference between Power Anchors having an ultimate on their attack and not having an ultimate. So ADSL2 Plus needs to make sure they make an impact on the point, because any little time difference right now, yeah, it's insignificant, but once you start getting up to that minute and a half, 2 minute mark, that's when you typically see ultimates come online.
Absolutely. We can't guarantee an ultimate quickly, but that said, some of these players have been building them that quickly, and the extra time may mean that you run a composition that maybe takes a little longer to set up, but you're more comfortable going on the attack. Whereas if you don't have that time, you have to do something that gets straight into the point.
Link's already at 30%. That Dynamite was huge.
Yeah, really great Dynamite scene from Link's, up to 45% now, really putting in the work. Leprechaunik still in the single digits, not able to respond just yet. So we're seeing...
had forced the Immortality Field, but already up to 80% to that amplification matrix. That might be the difference maker here. The amount of damage being done by Power Anchors, not backed up by kills, means Slonk is building up so fast. Ultimate online, we'll see where ADSL2 Plus choose to use it. Yeah, and right on the point, they're going to make Power Anchors come down to them. Format drops onto the point to fortify, keeping the Orisa hale and hearty for the moment, but Maka and Zealous picking up kills in the backline. The Immortality Field going to make it so difficult for Power Anchors to hold on. ADSL2 Plus, they're in control of the point. They're going to make progress with the card.
Absolutely, they will get that payload unlocked, which means the easiest win condition for this match is going to be for them to full hold on their turn in defense. It's very doable. It's basically win 2 fights. But
they can't leave the cart.
Can't leave the cart, absolutely. How far will they be able to get it? We have seen full pushes with a minute on the clock before. We could see it again.
Or risky.
With how well...
Clip's going for the cart, I think.
Yeah, okay, they're actually, the whole team is going, they're going for the flank play here, but they've been spotted out.
Oh
and
no!
Now there's an Orisa to buy time.
What are you doing, Maka? Okay, gets the duplicate, gets out of dodge, and building up to the ultimate. They might get a supercharge down in record time. Crook doesn't need to build it up on their own. If you got Maka there doing the job for you, Trade did wait, but losing Zealous could be absolutely crucial for ADSL2 Plus. Those Transcendents going to be coming online. They were so close to it. Leprechaun doing it. They came back. Fatebringer proving to be the superior Zenyatta, alive, doing damage, building up to a Transcendence of their own. Has format supercharger in tow. Finishes Slonk. Fatebringer carrying the fight for Power Anchors. The cart is going to stop ADSL2 Plus 50 meters into the second point.
This is really, really doable for either team here and now. It is not a long distance to push that payload, but at the same time, it's also not a lot of time in the bank to hold out. The defenders basically need to win 2 fights, or if they need to win, if they win the first 2 fights, they've probably got it. And if they don't win the first, if they lose, it'll be over if the card gets moving, it'll be over in 3 fights at most. So the attackers, they have to win 3 consecutive... Well, they have to win 2 out of 3 fights. Basically, both of these teams need to win 2 out of 3 team fights to win the match.
And very important that Power Anchors identify if they're not winning that first fight, they can't let it drag out. They don't want to be coming into the second fight with 10 seconds left, staggering onto the point, knowing that you have to take this fight, but your team is stretched out across the run back from spawn. So they need to be really aware of their positioning, their status in a fight, and they don't want to let ADSL2 just walk all over them or maybe trap members in.
Absolutely. And likewise, you could completely, if you're the defense, if your first fight goes particularly badly, you maybe don't go for a second fight in the defense and you go for a hold there and you don't have 3 fights. But it really comes down to how scrappy the fight ends up being. We've seen clean fights, we've seen scrappy fights from these teams. So who knows which way it will go. All we know is that these players will continue to pop off such a high level of play here. Now, format on the point, but a little alone.
But it's going to force ADSL2 Plus to drop down. They need to contest. They can't give away any progress for free. And a nice flanking move by both Clip. Oh, no, Fatebringer was on the flank but got caught out flying. Luigi's hunting them down thanks to a great hold from Crocodile. They're going to clean up Clip. Maka doing the job there. Trade's going either way, and looks like PowerAnchors coming back in. They get 2 kills of their own. Leprechaun doing what they can, but the one Ash army not going to be enough. Crocodiles down format on about 1 health there, finishing off the counter Orisa. But it's going to allow PowerAnchors to take the point and get this cart progress started.
Absolutely, and with how scattered the respawns are, you can't really go for a recontest here. So instead, we will be going straight for the defense. There's going to be 1 fight left in this. Whoever wins this fight will win the match. So all of the pressure here. It's a great opening dynamite there, but neither of these Ashes that high to the ultimate. Last round we had a lot of ultimates going online, whereas this one, with more time in the bank, the ultimates have been a bit slower, but now we have...
out again! Slonk with the first ultimate of the fight. The accretion flies through and cleans up No Toast. And the Immortality Field gone for PowerAnchors means they've lost a whole lot of survivability of that shield. And the Immortality Field gone. The Amplification Matrix out from Venturos, plus the Supercharger. There's so much damage and healing available for PowerAnchors. They've got what they need. Fatebringer taking Ash out of the fight. Leprechaun gone. That's the big playmaker for ADSL2. But Crocodile and Zealous stepping it up. They've got the Supercharger in tow. This Immortality Field there. Clip duplicates Sigma. They need that shield in play. Fatebringer has the Transcendence online. They get in there, keep everyone alive from their team, but the Supercharger is still there. Bob on the field is a glowing Bob. I love it. You've duplicated Bob. Thank you, Maka. I wanted to see this. What a great play.
2 Bobs! 2 Bobs in 1 Echo hold.
Wow. In the end, ADSL2 Plus going to do what they needed to. They held on. They level up the series.
I mean, there are some ultimates in the game that are not channeled, and the moment you fire them off, you can start building ultimate percentages. Not many of them. Most of them you can't get percentage while the effect is still going. But Hanzo's Dragons is one of them, and so is Bob. And with that, we're able to see 2 back-to-back Bobs built up from the same Echo ultimate. I was a little curious as to why Ash was the duplicate, but there it is. That was absolutely the turnaround there, and
yeah, I mean that's probably one instance you can decently copy it, Ash, because you know that both teams are going to be grouped up on the cart. You chuck that dynamite in, you're going to build your ultimate like that. So really smart play from Maka there.
Yeah, very, very situational, but absolutely pays out. With that, ADSL will pick up a map in return. So believe that's...
So many members from them stepping up. Slong building up the first ultimate on both that second attack and second defense. The amplification matrix so crucial. I believe they took out No Toast so ADSL2 Plus's defense. They took out No Toast first. That rock flying through, clearing out the Sigma. Once they had that player advantage, it was always going to be so difficult for PowerAnchors to claw it back.
And in their defense, they clawed back really hard. It was not an open and shut case. Normally, you lose a DPS, you lose a tank rather, super early in a fight, and practically the fight is over, but PowerAnchors trading back, giving it their all. Still, in the end, it almost looked like it would even be long enough for No Toast to get back into the fight, maybe keep things going, how long that grind out on the cart went. But in the end, ADSL2 Plus, they come out on top, they tie up the scoreline, and we're in for it.
We're in for a treat tonight. These teams, they're playing so close to each other. It's 1-for-1. We could see a draw here on Volsky, as you're about to point out. The map is.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just there's so many incredible players here. This is the absolute top tier 3 Overwatch, if not into low tier 2 Overwatch.
Oh, they're tier 2. They're contenders.
Yeah, they're contenders.
They are tier 2.
They are. Yeah, they are the. Yeah, absolutely. So this is tier 2 Overwatch here, and they are putting on a hell of a performance. Both of these teams, they want this W.
And they need it to have their. They need it coming into playoffs because the winner of this match sits on top of the group. They go into the playoffs. They get the easier match in the first round, and give themselves an almost guaranteed chance of making it through to that final match where they're playing off for their share of the $500 prize pool.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to come into playoffs in that top seed spot. You'd much rather have your first round against the weakest of the top 4 teams, so you can take it nice and easy. Maybe let your opponent spot some weaknesses for you against the other team, and at the same time, you want to come into this with the edge. Like, you're pretty sure, unless there's an upset, that this will be the Division 1 playoff match. This is how it's likely to unfold. You want to come in here knowing that you are the stronger team, knowing that you can beat these guys at the end of the day, and having that past history. It's going to weigh on every player's mind should that come to pass, and this does end up being our grand final match.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if it was, but right now we're seeing that PowerAnchors, they're coming out vaguely recognizable composition based on what they've been running, but Clip on the Torbjorn.
Yeah, defensive Torbjorn has always been somewhat popular in some of the Assault maps, especially for the first point, and Volskaya is one of the ones where you can play it. There's a lot of good high ground that you can put the turret on to get some great off angles, and it just means that there's that extra threat. It's harder to defend against it. It's going to put out regular damage that needs to be dealt with, and you put a different hit scan, in this case Ash, on the opposite high ground. They've got 2 different angles that they need to worry about. As a result, they're going to have to take this high ground away, and that's going to see the rotation here from the defense.
Maka does find the Torbjorn turret, so currently on cooldown, but look at the flank! Lynx and Pretoros are just flanked around the side. The Dynamite onto the high ground is going to be absolutely killer. Forces out the Immortality field from Slonk, but Fatebringer went down early. Pretoros had to leave the rest of the team just to get the resurrection, and all of a sudden Link caught out alone in the middle of nowhere. Maka going to burn down with the focusing beam. And Leprechaun picking out Pretoros. This might be the end of this defensive PowerAnchors. They've lost the numbers. All it relies on now is ADSL2 Plus to make the move onto the point.
Yeah, and those last few members are going to get clean up. It's really unfortunate for PowerAnchors that they lost Fatebringer of all people. Almost anyone else, they might have been able to soak there and keep it going, but because they've lost the Ashe there, and because Pretoros was off on the flank providing that support for Lynx, having to come all the way back around to get the healing back online gave ADSL2 Plus the opportunity to just cave in that defense. Cave it in they do. 5 minutes, 20 seconds on the clock as we head towards B. And there is a bit of a risk for a snowball here. Slonk has the window, and Maka's going to have that duplicate as well. But Lynx has a Bob, which can be really good for stalling out this point.
Oh, Crook goes very low, but the healing is there. Slonk backing them up, throws down the Immortality Field and the Amp Matrix, and PowerAnchors walk straight into it, and they fall down. Pretoros gets the rest on the clip, but immediately the Torbjorn are hit by a rock to the face. Maka flying weak, is picking up kills on their own, and there's a glowing Bob. Maka again picking up the Bob. I like to see this. There's a real Bob on the field, there's a fake Bob on the field, but ADSL2 is going to be really on the point right now. They're capping, they've got 2 ticks, 93% in the bag. There's a gravitic flux to make sure no one else can enter. The reinforcements from PowerAnchors coming back. We're seeing the Moira, the Wrecking Ball come back. No Toast goes so low, but able to be kept up. The Moira doing a great job. There's a Transcendence on the field. Zealous keeping everyone from ADSL2 Plus still alive. They've got control of the points. The emergency swaps are coming through. They waste a bit of time, but in the end, PowerAnchors forced off. ADSL2 Plus capping the entirety of Volskaya with 4 minutes 12 remaining.
Yeah, a really good time here, especially for Volskaya. They managed to snowball that through, and it's a bit unfortunate that PowerAnchors had to pop the Bob when they did. They popped it in response to losing their Torbjorn to basically give the team breathing room to get that res off, but unfortunately Bob ends up literally in front of the amplification matrix that gets popped, and as a result, he's dead in about 2 seconds, and that means that, well, there just wasn't enough time bought by Bob. That said, they do fight back by a lot of time off the clock before the cap finally comes through. But 4 minutes 12 seconds is a heck of a time to try and unhorse.
Especially when you start with less than 4 minutes on the clock in the first place. So ADSL2 plus, like, given the changes Blizzard put in with, we've now reduced the time bank, it's not going to be the case. But really, they could do this all day, just keep capping over and over again if they really wanted to.
Yeah, looks like just a bit of banter from one of the players. 8 seconds too slow. It looks like 4 minutes 20 seconds was the time that they were aiming for. Can't imagine why that might be, but nonetheless, they will be setting up on the defense now. Very familiar roster, pretty much running what they were on the attack here. Meanwhile,
positions come out. Yeah, both teams running the mirror. I mean, I guess it is.
It's been working.
It's the meta right now. It's been working for both of them. So why not keep facing up? No toast. Cops a rock to the face and burnt down. You see the amount of assisting on that ADSL2 plus. It's a team effort to take down each and every member of PowerAnchors. They lose 2 more coming in, and format a forlorn little Larissa.
It's going to be a lot of ultimate charge over to the defenders there, although not as much as you'd think. I suppose once they knew the fight was over, they allowed themselves to be taken out pretty quickly, and without sort of the healing being pumped into it, there's not too much charge there. Spread rather evenly over the defending team as well, so not the huge advantage you might hope for from your first defensive fight win, but still any fight win is a good one.
Cops the rock this time, and again, we see the exact same setup. Someone from PowerAnchors cops the rock, they're burnt down, and now the attacking team's stuck in this room.
Yeah, Maka just putting in work from the angle there, getting the damage in there. This time, PowerAnchors, they're not going for the quick reset. They're going to fortify their position on this room, try and weather the storm. They know Clip can just flank around the side, so that one makes sense. And likewise, Lynx can just fire in from that main point and provide a threat. So it makes sense that they've gone for this. Clip now getting revenge, taking out Zealous.
A great start to the fight. Got the low down onto Maka. The Echoes are duking it out, but Maka will come out on top of that fight. As PowerAnchors have made their way onto the high ground, but they run into an Immortality field. They remove it immediately. Lynx actually removes Slock, so the Baptiste tools and Baptiste removed. Maka, the emergency Orisa duplicate on the field, will be burnt down and removed from the ultimate ability. Able to fly away, as of course Echo gets their full health back once they're forced out of the duplicate, but it will be PowerAnchors moving on to the point with their members intact. Crook taken out at the start of the fight. Flying Luigi's under pressure. Will not be long for this world, no matter what that Kinetic Grasp does. I take that back. Able to get away, get the health pack, large health pack. But PowerAnchors are making progress on the point Peronius. They're going to take it here unless something magical comes from ADSL2 plus.
Well, ADSL2 plus have already managed to win the Echo v Echo fight again. Clip's gone down. Now Maka being taken out though. Flying Luigi's has taken out his counterpart. So this is really a messy fight here. The attackers do have the closer spawn advantage, but at this point the defenders have more people on the field, and that Transcendence is going to keep everyone up. I think the attackers have to back off.
PowerAnchors, they were so close, but they just couldn't get the clean up they need. Flying Luigi's doing a great job staying alive, getting that large health pack in that room in a nick of time, and in the end it was enough to turn the tide of the fight.
Absolutely. Now they're going to be coming into this one. Ultimate's relatively evenly matched. Clip does have the duplicate though, and in fact PowerAnchors are going to be having a lot of things coming online sooner. They've got a real opportunity here, but they need it. They need to get this point going. They already are not in a great position time bank wise. There is still the opportunity that maybe they capture this one out cheaply, use the extra energy to snowball through the second fight, but at the same time, I think if you're the defense here, you make sure you don't commit too heavily into this fight and leave yourself vulnerable to that.
The Ant Matrix is on the high ground. No one actually touching the point right now. They're content to trade shots across the gap. Format and Praetorus forcing the issue, as does Clip, the supercharger on the point. Bob's going to see what they can do against it, but the supercharger is going to mean that big Omnic Butler not going to be making an impact on this one fight. The Gravitic Flux comes out from No Toast, doesn't really capture anyone as the rest of ADSL2 hold up in the big health track room with a supercharger, and they use it to such great effect. They melt down any resistance from PowerAnchors. This attack going to be stopped. Then overtime is burning. PowerAnchors not going to make an impression on this point. ADSL2 sitting on match point, looking to take out this group right now.
Absolutely, and 99.5% capture progress, by the way. That's how close it was to getting capped, but not close enough. PowerAnchors gets shut out on Volskaya. Things are starting to turn around here. They may have picked up the first control match, but ADSL2 Plus have looked incredibly strong ever since.
Oh, that is filthy. Just that Mercy couldn't get away. The dynamite burning. But great play by Maka then, proving that they're a real jack of all trades.
Yeah.
And that's what you need out of your Echo players.
Absolutely. I mean, Echo's ability to swap to every hero in the game means that finally flex players can really flex, and there's no longer, like, the game no longer entirely incentivizes just one-tricking one hero to mastery, because Echo, to master that, you need to master every other hero in the game. But there are players out there that have, and it shows.
If you were to one-trick Echo on ladder, would you be a one-trick?
That is probably a very philosophical question that maybe might be a bit hard to unpack here.
Oh, look, we need to see someone do it in, just up in Grandmaster or something where they tend to frown upon that kind of one-trickery, and we'll see how the community reacts to it. Is they praising the Echo player? They say, no, pick another hero. And I say, well, I do pick another hero. Every minute I pick another hero.
Well, in any case, as long as they remain meta, then I think one-tricking is sort of excused. It's when people are one-tricking the off-meta heroes that people tend to get cranky.
Well, speaking of the meta, ADSL2 Plus playing it to perfection right now. They've brought themselves back from the brink in this match. PowerAnchors look like, yeah, it was an even fight, but PowerAnchors had the advantage after Nepal, but I mean, it seems to be getting easier and easier for ADSL2 Plus as the match goes on.
Yeah, they seem to be definitely picking up speed. It means that really the only answer to someone rapidly picking up speed is an anchor. Let's see if they can pull one out here as they bring this one over to Rialto. Get this payload underway.
Well, it's moving forward so far. Looks like PowerAnchors willing to take their defense on the high ground. Interesting position is often see teams take it on their first corner or right at the attacker's spawn, but they're willing to invest the time and they make great use of it. Lynx removing Maka from the fight to start with. Fullback goes down low. That's the 45, but he's reloaded the Immortality Field forced out just to keep the Orisa in the fight. Framebringer low in addition, waiting for that Nanite Field to be off cooldown so they can heal themselves, or just waiting for that Discord orb to come through from a Taurus.
Absolutely, and that's a early fight win from PowerAnchors. But we've sort of come to expect that here on Rialto. It's often a race to see who can get furthest on point A, unless something has changed. And with both of these teams locking in the double shield Orisa Sigma comps, it's going to be a lot of shooting at each other from across the distance here. Ooh, that's a big opening pick.
And what a way to go down to the Sonic Arrow. It's just a little bit of flexing there from the Hanzo. It's now PowerAnchors making a move onto the cart. They're hunting down the remaining members of ADSL2 Plus.
Ooh, this could be tricky actually. That's
Oh, they lose no toast and clip in that room. That's disastrous for them. Now ADSL2 Plus has the tools they need. They've got the play advantage and they're going to take advantage of it. Pushing forward as PowerAnchors forced to fall back. They're going to have to wait for the reinforcements to return.
Absolutely, and now, Lynx actually throws out the Bob onto the cart, but gets picked up immediately by Maka, and Bob immediately dealt with as well. This is still not looking great for PowerAnchors as ADSL2 surging forwards. However, it looks like maybe they're going for a fight here. They've dropped the Amp Matrix, they've thrown the Dragons out. Not really much coming from either so far, but it is buying time for reinforcements to reappear.
Indeed, Lynx back on the trace of the Gravitic Flux infested by No Toast, slapping down those two members, but the Immortality Field going to ensure they stay hale and hearty for the moment. But the rest of the team not so fortunate with outside the Immortality Field. They're burnt down. ADSL2 Plus sent back to the drawing board with only a minute 20 left on the clock.
Minute 20 left on the clock, but a lot of ultimates used by PowerAnchors to secure that fight. A lot of ultimates online here for ADSL2 Plus. It's definitely not out of the question. Lynx is actually going to swap over to the Ash as well, so not even currently back as this fight is looking to get underway.
There's another bomb pushing the cart.
Ooh.
So PowerAnchors need to get back to the cart regardless of whether or not they can stop ADSL2 Plus marching up Main Street. They get two kills, the kills they need, so right now the player advantage is with the defending team, and Lynx finishing off Crook with the Dynamite is going to see this fight again sorted for PowerAnchors.
It was a great opening play with that bot, but the entry frags onto the members there of ADSL2 Plus meant that it was a non-starter, and that was going to be the best chance to break that one through. Now, PowerAnchors, they're able to fortify in here. They've got more tools available. They're going to have the Supercharger online for this final fight. So does Crocodile. Zealous does have that trance. Still a lot of tools available for ADSL2 Plus.
And crucially, no trance for the defending team to survive any of these big ultimates, but you don't need to survive big ultimates if players like Crook can't make use of them. The trance forced by Zealous, as is the Ant Matrix by Slonk, as an Ant Matrix for the defense, sitting right on the cart. The grab flux in the backline, ADSL2 Plus cleaning up. I say ADSL2 Plus, I mean Leprechaunic coming up big, going to wipe away the defense. Overtime is triggered, but the cart pushing through to the end of the first point.
That was just incredibly well played. I was genuinely worried when I saw how far forward Zealous was as they were moving towards the payload to make sure they could get overtime. I'm thinking, a Zen that exposed? But in the end, it absolutely works out. The kills come through. The defense gets taken apart piece by piece. With that ADSL2 Plus, they keep this map going, moving on into the factory stage.
PowerAnchors not letting them off easy. They know they can't get a hold right inside the door, but they're putting pressure on to ensure that they don't get pushed back to their own side of the factory. There's a Bob on the field coming in from the side, sitting in the middle. Will be dealt with almost immediately. Oh no, Crocodile gets distracted by the Bob format, able to waltz in, take out their counterpart, Orisa. Pretoros getting a kill back onto Flying Luigi's. In the end, trades are going to favour the defense as ADSL2 falls back, but they've got a little bit of time to spare.
Yeah, 90 seconds on the clock means they've got 2 more cracks at this one to get it through. I just want to revise an earlier statement. This is technically a brewery, which is not really considered a factory a lot of the time. As soon as I saw the vats, I'm like, factory wasn't the right word, but nonetheless, we will have another attack coming forwards from ADSL2 Plus. Don't have any ultimates for this. I tell a lie. Leprechaunic has one, and it's going to be out on the field now.
And we're seeing the Bob plugging away, going to get melted down the Discord orb, making short work of the Bob. Lynx removed from the fight. There's going to be no Bob in play, even if they were anywhere close from PowerAnchors. The Transcendent's a very messy fight. PowerAnchors very split up right now. The Transcendent's not really benefiting anyone other than Pretoros. And Format stuck on the cart, has the healing there from Fatebringer, but the Baptiste going to be removed, as is the Orisa. ADSL2 Plus marching forth. The Investigative Flux at the end of the fight. Why not? Your duplicate's going to run out. And they're going to get close to the end of this. Brewery.
Yeah. Oh, and with Lynx getting deleted there by Zealous, they're not going to be able to go for a retake here. We will be heading on to the third stage of the fight. They'll be able to go for an early defense here, which they obviously want to do. We see the aggression coming out.
Oh, good, nice Gravitic Flux picks up 4. Pretoros gets finished off in mid-air. Flying Luigi just keeps marching forward, doing so much damage. Going to clean up the other 2. As the stragglers from PowerAnchors trying to retreat. Format so low will be finished off. Flying Luigi's a one-man army right now.
Yeah, he's just surging forwards. There's another one. So many kills from those deadly orbs. And they've just bought themselves so much space here as well on the final stage of the map. Zealous, he's keeping things moving on the payload. But now we have the PowerAnchors moving together onto the high ground, looking to reassert their dominance onto the map.
ADSL2 Plus going to retreat a little bit to protect the Zenyatta. The Dragons slung through by Clip, going to be triggering the Zealous Transcendence to protect ADSL2 Plus as the Supercharger is there, but Crook going low has to retreat behind the wall. A lot of damage coming out courtesy of the counter Supercharger from Format. No direct kills either way, but Bob getting in there, getting busy, trying to make a difference in this fight. Providing a lot of shields for No Toast, but the Sigma's still so low. Forced to back away, hide in that little room to the side. There's a trade. Either way, though, one of the kills was Bob. Slonk and Lynx trading themselves out. It's a very messy fight from both teams, but there's so much damage coming out from Power Anchors. And ADSL2 Plus just doesn't have the healing available to them. They're going to be stopped here with 10 seconds left on the clock, and I don't think anyone's going to be able to touch PowerAnchors.
No, that's going to be it for that one, but I really want to highlight Clip out on that one, who got a triple headshot in the late stages of that fight. 3 arrows through the dome to take out 3 consecutive kills, cleaning up there on the Hanzo. With that, PowerAnchors will hold it, but it's quite deep in the map, and Havana, well, it almost ended on the first stage, and that's pretty par for the course, so there's still a bit of an uphill battle here to be able to keep their hopes alive in this series.
You did mention it before that it's often a battle of teams seeing how far they get on first, and I'm a little worried for PowerAnchors right now. ADSL2 seems to be on top of their game, and given the defensive effort they put out on Volskaya, PowerAnchors are going to be very hard-pressed to get to where ADSL2 Plus made it.
Yeah, we'll see how things go. It looks like we will be seeing the pirate ship coming out. I mean, when it comes to tools to bust things open, it is an old favorite for reasons. But, I mean, it's not without its vulnerabilities either. And we'll see if ADSL2 Plus are able to capitalize on those. Certainly we can expect to see Maka flying around, getting an angle through the shields, put the fire onto the Bastion. It happened on King's Row. It may just happen here as well.
They've got to be watching out for Flying Luigi's, who's been absolutely brutal on this map, and even across the entire match you saw some great Halt accretion combinations to make PowerAnchors attacks so difficult. I mean, you've got to be really, really wary of this Sigma player.
Now the Bastion's set up, the fire is going to melt down those shields really quickly. We're probably going to see some form of rotation, but, I mean, the Immortality field is able to sit up there undercover.
Holy strikes! And Maka follows close behind. Zealous finding the kill on the Bastion, but with the resurrection there, it's not even going to matter in the slightest. An ADSL2 Plus, there might not be any room for them to re-engage here.
Yeah, I think they have spawned quick enough that they can go for the retake if they want it, but it's not going to be an easy one to do. That said, Zealous getting clipped early, that's absolutely going to help.
Now you're coming in with a 6v5 advantage on the defense, but No Toast combined with the damage apple for Lynx going to make short work of that advantage. The Immortality field actually burnt down. And Lynx as well, Flying Luigi, we said watch out for this Sigma. Lynx wasn't paying attention. Leprechaunic comes back in, picks up 2 kills of their own in the fight, and all of a sudden ADSL2 Plus, things were looking dire for them on this defense, but right now, they're sitting pretty.
Yeah, they're going to be able to repel this one. A lot of resources being committed as well by the attackers. They use the amplification matrix here. Fatebringer now getting staggered out quite badly as well. Very late death, and there goes Lynx again. Not able to get set up. He might need to swap off the Bastion, but maybe they make a play for the configuration tank mode. Maybe they swap it off. It could go either way. It looks like they are sticking with it.
Yeah, right. There is 4 squishies on ADSL2 Plus, so you know a couple lucky shots could remove a third of the defending team and open up the way to finish the first point.
Yeah, but they'll need to use that to get. Oh, then okay, they're not even initiating with it. They're looking to try.
Oh, the counter bastion came out, but Maka immediately removed. Lynx spotted that out, not having any of it. The Gravitic Flux onto the configuration tank, but oh my word, Lynx just got lifted up right into Flying Luigi's, plugs away the Sigma, removes Leprechaunic from the fight. This is the attack that PowerAnchors were looking for. They've got the Bastion on the field.
No.
Transcendence. Oh no, too little, too late. You're not really going to be doing much if it's just the 2 supports and the lonely little Echo on the point. The cart's still moving forward. No one from the defense touching it. The reinforcements are back for them, but they're going to be melted down as soon as they emerge from the brewery. With that, PowerAnchors sealing the first point.
Absolutely. I think at that point it's just extra ultimate charge for the PowerAnchors to help them get the momentum going in their favor once more. And it looks like they're going to surge forward. They want to get Lynx set up on the high ground here rather than having him ride the cart. I think good decision considering the chokes the defenders have to push out through. Really going to make it hard to get any control in this second stage of the map.
Oh, look at that shield coverage.
Yep.
Lynx has so much space to work with. Well, so space is going to be all they have. A nice approach from ADSL2 Plus. They're using that wall to prevent a lot of damage coming through from the Bastion, and the Supercharger is going to make short work of the protective shields. It forces a repositioning from Power Anchors, but the Gravitic Flux from No Toe is going to lift up that front line. But in the end, it will be the damage coming through from ADSL2 Plus. Maka finds Clip, removing the duplicate, sorry, the Echo from the fight, who had the duplicate and Crook, getting Lynx. Toros, the resurrection gets it off, but Maka punishing the Mercy for that, and in the end, Bastion forced to fall away. The configuration take out, seeing if they can make a difference. This time, Flying Luigi not playing funny games, using the kinetic grasp to stop any damage coming through. That will be the attack held for the moment.
Absolutely, and I think you pull out the configuration tank there because you know you're not going to be able to get back on that Bastion, so why not try and get a pick with that and maybe make the next fight a 5v6 in your favor. Nonetheless, they will be resetting a little bit of economy there. I mean, Lynx going over, getting things started on the Ash, but, well, here comes Clip as Sigma.
Yep. Both duplicates available. Clip, the first users in the fight, as is seg to the Sigma. There's a Gravitic Flux out from Flying Luigi's, lifts up the entire front line from Power Anchors. They get slapped down, but the support's doing a great job keeping their tanks alive. And now the counter Gravitic Flux from Maka is so good. Removes two. Half of the attacking team is down already. Leprechaunic getting in on the action. And with that, attack repulsed. 1 minute 40 left on the clock.
Yeah, once they're entrenched here, it doesn't look like it's going to be easy to unhorse ADSL2 Plus. They're looking so good in this part of the map. They've got Zealous with the Transcendence online as well, and it's going to be a while until the attackers have some more tools. Next big ultimate is probably going to be No Toes for use Gravitic Flux, but it's been really hard to get too many people to this defense in one go.
They nice little approach around the outside. They get Lynx around and assassinates Maka. Format is the first victim for the attacking team. And Clip doing what they can in the backline, but spotted out, pressured down so low. Leprechaunic making short work of the Echo on top of those vats as they throw the dynamite and remove Praetoros from the fight. And Lynx down. Another attack repulse and Power Anchors. Now things are looking dire for them. ADSL2 Plus in a great position.
Yeah, 40 seconds left on the clock. Realistically, probably only one more fight to go. And it's been so hard for Power Anchors to even get their team into position to take a fight without losing someone. That said, they are going to have 4 of their ultimates online for this next fight. Let's see if they can make it happen. Oh, Clip going down early is a disaster, but maybe they can delay here. Then again, maybe we see ADSL2 Plus get aggressive to try and take advantage.
A lot of the same ultimates will be available for both teams. Clip swapped onto the Tracer, not willing to sit with that Echo. You got to get back into the fight as fast as you can. Maka out was outside, looking for the returning player. Cops the dynamite to the face for the efforts as the engagement comes through from Power Anchors. A Gravitic Flux, the first ultimate in the fight. Clip finds Leprechaunic. It's an amplification matrix on the high ground, a Bob on the low ground. The Transcendence coming through from Praetoros, not enough to keep Lynx in the fight. And that Bob is still on the ground. This is the longest I've seen a Bob alive in this match so far. Supercharger on the cart being towed forward right into the Supercharger from the defense on ADSL2 Plus. No kills all the way. I take that back. Flying Luigi is removed from the fight. Maka gets one back onto Fatebringer, so it's still even right now, but the Supercharger is still there for the defending team. They've got so much damage available to them. It finally wears off, but it is too little too late. Power Anchors melting down in the face of ADSL2 Plus. The superior technology type has done it. They've taken the map and they've taken out the match.
And what a great performance here. ADSL2 Plus, they go down in control in a relatively quick and decisive 2-0. Well, actually, it was fairly back and forth, but it was still very decisive. It certainly didn't feel like a long, drawn-out match. And yet, going forwards, once they get out of the control map mode, they have overwhelmingly been the dominant team here, setting the pace for these matches. And in the end, it pays off, and they get their 3-1 victory here tonight.
solid effort from them. And that play of the game really showed one of the stars coming out from ADSL2 Plus. Flying Luigi's was going mental. I mean, that Sigma play, just running ahead of your team alone and picking up 4 kills, not something you expect out of your off-tank player.
No, well, sometimes. But no, not really.
Maybe they expect it from Flying Luigi's like, that wasn't a 6k, that was nothing.
I mean, at this point, I imagine they must, because that was consistently the tune throughout the night. Flying Luigi's really good on those aggressive chases once the fighters won, cleaning up all sorts of people. So hard to run away from a good Sigma because of the splash damage. I mean, they're like flak rounds going off around you. You will get hit, and he knows how to bounce them so that they are going to hit you. So you don't get to escape.
And great use of the ultimate ability, aside from that one where you lifted up the ulting Bastion into your own face. And look, he got punished for it, so fair's fair. But I would also like to point out, I like the Zenyatas from both teams. Fatebrick was doing a great job from PowerAnchors, but Zealous was there time and time again with a Transcendence when they need it, capably countering particularly those Sigma ultimates coming out from Notos, who was no slouch themselves, but when you've got a Zenyatta like Zealous keeping your team well protected, it's very difficult for the Sigma to make an impact.
Speaking of making an impact, we would be remiss to not talk about Maka putting in such consistent impacts on the Echo there. I mean, both teams had an Echo and Clip. Don't get me wrong, a good Echo in their own right, but it was pretty clear to see Maka was a level ahead when it comes to that play, getting value out of every ultimate being put down, duplicating, picking the right person, and getting those ultimates out, and just time and time again being the difference maker, winning out those Echo v Echo duels, getting the early picks on the vulnerable supports, and just like if there was a single difference maker in this match, I think in the end it has to be Maka. There were so many fights just won off the back of Maka, either in the opening picks or clutching up late in the fight when everything's gone to hell.
I could think of examples of both of those. There was the opening pick on their, I believe it was their second King's Row attack, where Maka flew around the outside of the map and assassinated the opposing Zenyatta. Actually, sorry, that might have been Clip. But I can definitely think of on their defense, second defense, when PowerAnchors was pushing to that choke point, switching to Ash, throwing that dynamite, getting the bob instantly. Such a heads-up play. It's so great to see. I mean, Echo is a weird hero to play around, and I love seeing the way players using it. It started out, as you mentioned, you just copy the tanks because they've got such big, impactful ultimates, but it's nice to see Echo players branch out, copy something different when it suits the need.
Yeah.
And it just makes such a difference if your Echo player is that flexible.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that happened in the very last fight in Havana is because ADSL2 had lost a lot of healing, Maka actually copied a Zenyatta just to get some more healing onto the field. Isn't able to keep that form for long because Zenyatta's so fragile. It does get cleaned up, but ADSL2, they end up winning the fight in the end. But in that sort of overtime desperation situation when your team's lacking in healing, absolutely bringing out an extra healer. Again, a great play, and not something that a lot of people are going to immediately think for, because as a DPS, your top priority is what will do the most damage right now.
Indeed it is. So that is all for ADSL2 Plus versus PowerAnchors for now. ADSL2 Plus securing the top spot in the group, barring some weird results next week. But I wouldn't be surprised if this is the order we go into playoffs, with ADSL2 Plus sitting on top of PowerAnchors in second place. And again, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw this as the final Division 1 match of the season. These are the two strongest teams right now, and ADSL2 Plus currently has the edge, so given recent results to 1v1, the next time they face off will be for all the marbles.
Absolutely. All of those marbles provided generously by our sponsor, MyRepublic Gaming. If you're looking for a broadband service tailored specifically to you as a gamer, check out MyRepublic Gaming for all of your broadband needs.
We should probably be clear that MyRepublic is specifically, I believe, an NBN provider. So currently they're, sponsoring a tournament where ADSL2 Plus is making a comeback.
Maybe so. Regardless, I've been Peronius. Joining me is Temporal. Thank you from everyone at AOE. Big thanks to our producer, Zero Aim, as well. That's going to be all from us tonight. We'll be back next week with more action and then the following weeks as we get into playoffs. So look forward to seeing you all back soon. Till then, take care, stay safe, and we'll see you real soon.